Marcus. My heart is thrumming with dark anticipation as I lock the door and turn to face Emma, who's standing by the bed and watching me with huge gray eyes, the ice cream melting in the bowl she's still clutching with both hands. This is it. Finally, she's mine. I know I'm assuming a lot, but the attraction goes both ways. I could feel her response when I kissed her, could see the rapid beating of the pulse in her neck when I laid my hand on her knee. She wants me. She needs this as much as I do. Holding her gaze, I cross the room and stop in front of her. My dick is painfully hard, but my movements are carefully restrained as I take the bowl from her shaking hands and set it on the nightstand next to our cups of coffee. Come to my place. It's an order, not a request, but I can't help it. I've never wanted a woman this much, have never felt as out of control as I do now. It's impossible to be suave and seductive with the violent hunger beating at me, demanding that I take her, that I do whatever it takes to make her mine. If these were more primitive times, I'd have already thrown her over my shoulder and carried her off to my cave. Her gray eyes round with shock. To your place? Yes. I hold her gaze, not bothering to hide the dark lust coiling within me. To my place. Now. There's a better way to do this, I know. I could take her out for a drink. Then, once we're both pleasantly buzzed, I could offer to show her the rare book collection in my penthouse. We'd both know what would really happen once we got there, but we wouldn't need to discuss it. She could pretend that she's just going to see some books, and it would all be nice and civilized, properly romantic. Except I'm not capable of being civilized right now. All my social graces seem to have deserted me again, the veneer of civilization disappearing, and I almost groan at the temptation. What about, she swallows visibly, what about Emmeline? What about her? I growl, pulling her closer. I told you there are no commitments between us. And there won't be, not until I get Emma out of my system. I'm not the kind of man who cheats. But you still want to date her, right? Her voice is breathless as her lower body molds against mine. So you could maybe marry her? That's a big maybe, I mutter, and unable to resist a second longer, I grip her face between my palms and bend my head to kiss her. Her lips are as soft as the first time I tasted them. Distantly, I hear another meow, but I no longer give a fuck about the cat, or Emmeline and my lifelong ambitions. All my senses are filled with Emma, with the wet, heated slide of her tongue against mine and the faint smell of caramel on her breath, with the way her soft curves feel against me and how her hands clutch at my sides as I maneuver her toward her bed. Fuck going to my place. Here will do just as well. The backs of her legs touch the mattress, and she suddenly goes rigid. Gripping my wrists, she twists away from my kiss. Wait! I freeze in place, using every ounce of my willpower to remain still as she slithers out of my hold and backs away, not stopping until she's as far away from the bed and me as she can get. Listen, Marcus, she says shakily, pushing the curls off her face with a trembling hand. This isn't, she gulps in a breath. We're obviously attracted to each other, but this isn't going to work out. And as I stare at her in disbelief, she picks up her cat from the floor and says quietly, Leave, please. I want you to go.
Chapter 23. Emma. You did what? Kendall's voice jumps an octave as she stares at me, her half-eaten croissant clutched in her hand. I told him to leave, I repeat, rubbing my temples as the headache from hell worsens. I barely slept after Marcus left last night, my second sleepless night this week. And though I've had enough caffeine to wake a horse this morning, my skull feels like it's being squeezed in a vice. Given that, I probably shouldn't have gone to Kendall's apartment for breakfast, but I needed someone other than my cats to talk to. Okay, back up. Kendall drops the croissant onto her napkin and swivels her bar stool to face me fully. Let's go through this again. He broke down your door to save you after you tripped over your cat, and you guys made out while you were almost naked. He then ate gyros with you while his repairman fixed it. After that, you kissed again, and he invited you to his place, and you told him it's not going to work out and he should leave? Technically, he kissed me after inviting me to his place, but yes, that's the gist of it. Emma, what the hell? I blink. What? He's still planning to date Emmeline, and you're the one who told me to be careful. Men are dogs, remember? You dummy! That was before we knew he's a billionaire. Kendall, no. Listen to me. She leans on the countertop, her elbow nearly squishing the croissant. This isn't some random Wallstreet asshole. It's Marcus freaking Corelli. And he's interested in you enough to break down your door and eat takeout gyros in your shitty little studio. Right, because he wants to get into my pants. I massage my brow ridge as if that would cause the pressure behind it to subside. I definitely shouldn't have come here. I see that now. If I'd caught a nap this afternoon, I'd be better equipped to deal with Kendall and her insane views on dating. As is, so what? Kendall jumps off her stool and glares at me, hands propped on her hips. You want to get into his pants, don't you? Well, yes, but no buts. He's rich, he's hot, he wants you, and you want him. And, she leans in until her nose is almost touching my own. He was totally upfront with you about this Emmeline thing. They're not married or even dating yet, so who cares that he may date her one day? I squeeze my eyes shut and wish I were home with my cats. I don't know what I expected when I showed up at Kendall's apartment with the croissants and coffee from the street cart downstairs, but getting yelled at for not sleeping with Marcus wasn't on the list. It's bad enough I spent all night second-guessing my decision and feeling like crap each time I recalled the expression on Marcus's face when I told him to leave. For a second, he'd looked almost hurt, but then his gaze had hardened, his face turning into a stony mask. Without a word, he turned and walked away, and it was all I could do to remain in place instead of running after him, instead of begging him to come back and finish what we started. Emma, listen to me, Kendall continues, and I reluctantly open my eyes as she climbs back onto her bar stool. Marcus clearly likes you, so what if you don't fit his requirements for a wife? That doesn't mean you can't have fun with him. You've been having sex dreams about the man, for Christ's sakes. And just think about it. Marcus Corelli. Do you know what kind of doors would open to you if you were on his arm? The places he could take you, the people you could meet. When I stare at her blankly, she rolls her eyes and says pointedly, that publishing industry job you've wanted forever? He could hook you up in a moment. Hell, his fund could probably buy any publisher you want with spare change. I wince. Kendall, she holds up a hand. I know. You're determined to stand on your own 2 feet, and that's admirable. But guess what, Ems? The ground under your feet can be a green lawn or a swamp, and we don't get to choose which, unless we're very lucky and fate hands us a way to cross over. And you, my darling, just got handed the equivalent of the Golden Gate Bridge. Marcus Corelli can lead you to the greenest pastures imaginable. All you have to do is say yes. On the subway ride home, I do my best to forget Kendall's words, but the bitter taste in my mouth lingers. I've told her about my childhood more than once, but she's because he wants to get into my pants. Marcus Corelli. Do you know what kind of doors would open to you if you were on his arm? The places he could take you, the people you could meet. When I stare at her blankly, she rolls her eyes and says pointedly, that publishing industry job you've wanted forever? He could hook you up in a moment. Hell, his fund could probably buy any publisher you want with spare change. I wince. Kendall, spare change. I wince. Kendall, green lawn or a swamp, and we don't get to choose which, unless we're very lucky and fate hands us a way to cross over. And you, my darling, just got handed the equivalent of the Golden Gate Bridge. Marcus Corelli can lead you to the greenest pastures imaginable. All you have to do is say yes. On the subway ride home, I do my best to forget Kendall's words, but the bitter taste in my mouth lingers. I've told her about my childhood more than once, but she still doesn't get it, not really. To her, Marcus's billionaire status is a plus, whereas to me, it's a huge minus. His money and connections are the last thing I want, and that fact alone would have doomed any relationship we might have started. Not that he even wants a relationship with me. I'm pretty sure it would have been a 1 or 2 night deal at most. And while I had entertained the idea, when it came down to it, when he didn't deny that he might ultimately marry Emmeline, I couldn't go through with it, no matter how much my body begged me to. I was too overwhelmed by how he made me feel, and downright terrified of what it would be like when he inevitably walked out of my life. So it's for the best that I made it happen yesterday before I got in any deeper. It really is. So what if I felt so shitty after rejecting him that I couldn't sleep? It was too much for me. He was too much for me. And it's good to know one's limitations. Or at least that's what I've been telling myself from the moment Marcus walked out, closing the repaired door behind him. Without his presence, my studio immediately felt colder, emptier, less vital somehow. No, that's not true. I refuse to go there. However volcanic our attraction, we are otherwise completely incompatible. I made the right choice, no matter what Kendall or anyone else thinks. All I need to do is make myself believe that.
Chapter 24. Marcus. I spend the rest of Friday evening trying to convince myself that what happened was for the best. That I'm glad Emma pulled the plug on this insanity before it went any further. Granted, it would have been nice to fuck her and relieve the tension that's taken hold of me from the moment I laid eyes on her, but ultimately, this couldn't have gone anywhere. Emmeline, or another woman like her, is what I need, and Emma would have just been a distraction. Had already been a distraction, in fact, messing with my focus at work and elsewhere. In spite of that perfectly rational reasoning, I barely slept Friday night, feeling tense and restless, despite 2 cold showers and an encounter with my fist. Each time I close my eyes, I see Emma in her lacy underwear, and my body burns with the need to have her, to feel her soft curves under my palms and taste the sweetness of her lips. Finally, I give up on sleep and go for a 10-mile run. The hard pace I set is sufficiently exhausting, and by the time I sit down to eat the gourmet breakfast my butler has prepared for me, some of my frustration has eased. Still, I decide to call Emmeline to really get my mind off things. We have another pleasant chat. I learn that she'll be coming to New York on a business trip in December, and we agree to meet for dinner the night she's free. It's all very proper and civilized, and when I hang up the phone, I don't feel the slightest urge to stalk her or drag her off to a cave. And that's how it should be, I tell myself, as I go into my home office to catch up on some work. With Emma, I was constantly on the verge of losing control and forgetting what's really important. The hunger the little redhead awakened in me was too potent, too dangerous. I want to be attracted to the woman I'm with, but not like that. Not to the point where she's all that matters. I work through the morning and most of the afternoon, and then, because my restlessness is returning, I call up my friend Ashton for a sparring session at our MMA gym. He happens to be free, and we meet up an hour later. He's as good at mixed martial arts as I am, and after an hour of nonstop back and forth, the score is even, and we're both dripping with sweat. "Grab a beer after we get changed?" he offers as we walk to the locker room, and I gladly agree. Anything to keep me from thinking about Emma. "So, how did the matchmaker work out for you?" Ashton asks as we sit down at the bar. It's barely 6 o'clock, so even though it's a Saturday, the place is quiet enough to carry on a conversation. "My aunt told me you got in touch with Victoria," he continues as the bartender hands us our beers. "Did she find you a wife yet?" I lift my beer and take a long sip in an effort not to snap at him. This is the last thing I want to talk about right now, but since he's the one who turned me on to Victoria Longwood Thierry, I owe him an answer. "She put me in touch with a promising candidate, a woman named Emmeline Summers," I say, putting down my beer. "But she's in Boston, so we'll see how that goes." See, I told you. He grins, showing off his pearly whites. That shit works, at least if you want it to. You couldn't pay me enough to be with one chick for the rest of my life, but if that's what you're after, might as well make sure that pussy is top-notch. He sounds like the asshole that he is, but the two women standing by the bar look dazzled by his smile. It's always that way with him. Ashton Vancroft comes from old money, serious money, and it shows. His innate rich boy arrogance, coupled with his athletic physique and golden surfer looks, draws women like a magnet, and it has for as long as I've known him, which is soon to be well over a decade. We met in business school, where we were both getting our MBAs, me so I could convince investors to trust me with their money, and Ashton because it was expected of him. As he explained to me once, his career options were lawyer, doctor, or investment banker. Anything else was deemed unacceptable for a Vancroft. He finally rebelled by dropping out of business school to become a personal trainer, but the damage was done. He'd acquired too much business savvy to live the poor and carefree life he'd always wanted. What started off as a few clients on the weekends quickly grew into a profitable business, thanks to word of mouth about his hardcore, no-nonsense approach to fitness and the app Ashton created to train his clients remotely during their travels. Before long, he had thousands of clients all over the world, and as their before and after pictures flooded Instagram, his training app exploded in popularity, rocketing to the top of all the app stores. Now he's a multimillionaire, even without his parents' money, and is in denial about the whole thing. How's the business coming along? I ask, because I know that will aggravate him, which is only fair given how much his prying into my dating life has aggravated me. Predictably, he grimaces. Awful. Revenues grew by another 20% last month, and I'm getting flooded with sponsorship offers. I don't want any of that shit, but do they listen? No. They're convinced I must be dying to peddle their shitty supplements or gym equipment or whatever crap they're selling. Never mind that none of that quick-fix bullshit works. It's all about proper nutrition and challenging your body, and I automatically tune out as he launches into his usual rant about couch potatoes looking for magical solutions to their laziness, and my thoughts drift to Emma. I wonder what she's doing this Saturday night. Is she in her PJs cuddling with the cats, or is she out somewhere? Maybe on a date? My hand tightens on my beer mug as I picture her sitting in a restaurant with some asshole, smiling at him with her pretty, dimpled smile. He'd be panting over her, all but salivating as she ate her cheap slice of pizza or whatever, and then they'd amicably split the bill before going together to her place and, fuck no, I'm not going there. I'm already feeling homicidal as it is. She's not yours, I tell myself as I drain my beer. She has every right to see whomever she wants and do whatever she pleases. We're not together anymore. Not that we ever were. 2 dates don't make a relationship, and neither do a couple of kisses, at least once you're out of high school. So it makes no sense for me to feel like this is a real breakup, like I actually lost something when she said that this is over and told me to leave. At most, my pride should be wounded by her rejection, nothing more. Yet when the two women by the bar sidle up to us, flirting and batting their long lashes, all I can think about is Emma and her dimpled smile. And when I excuse myself to go home, it's her lush curves I picture as I stand in the shower, my fist wrapped around my aching cock. It's her face I see in my mind as I come.
Chapter 25. Emma. The next 11 days drag by at a snail's pace. I go to work, I come home, and I work on my editing website. Financially, things are looking up. I got a couple of new clients through referrals. One of my regulars just sent me a new novel to work on, and an author who'd been having financial difficulties finally ponied up the payment he owed me for editing his 1,000-page epic fantasy novel. My cats haven't had any costly trips to the vet either. So for once, my bank account balance is in the 4 figures. I've even paid down a small portion of my student loans, making the recent interest rate spike hurt a little less. so there's no reason to feel like I'm trudging through a swamp with a 50-pound pack on my back. Call him, Kendall urges me again on Wednesday morning when I complain that I'm in a funk and have been having trouble sleeping. Tell him you've changed your mind and want to see him again. Or at least text him a quick hello. Maybe he's still interested and will respond. I wave away her suggestion, claiming my bad mood has nothing to do with that. But all of Wednesday, my phone taunts me, the bright pink case as aggravating as a red cape to a bull. I don't call. Heroically, I resist the urge. But that night, I dream that I gave in, and that Marcus immediately came over. I wake up slick and aching, on fire from my dirtiest dream yet. Sitting up, I turn on the bedside lamp, and the cats glare at me from my pillow, annoyed to be disturbed from sound sleep. Yeah, whatever. Remember the vase you smashed in the middle of the night last week? I mutter at Mr. Puffs, and he swishes his tail, acknowledging my point. The cats promptly go back to sleep, but I get up, too agitated to lie still. The phone is on my nightstand, taunting me, calling to me. I reach for it, but yank my hand back at the last moment, telling myself that this is a bad idea. A very bad idea. Still, I can't take my eyes off the device, and my hand reaches for it again, picking it up. Don't do it, Emma. I freeze, trying to heed the voice of reason, but a second later my fingers are moving of their own accord, swiping across the screen to locate my texts with Marcus. My heart beats furiously in my chest as I type out, "Hey, don't send it. Erase, erase, erase." I chew on my lip, staring at the screen, my finger hovering over the delete button. To send or not to send? A soft meow startles me out of my existential dilemma, and I look up to see Queen Elizabeth gracefully making her way toward me across the blanket. "Do you think I should send it?" I ask her, and she meows again. "Really?" She gives me a look that says I'm being dumb by talking to a cat about this. "Well, who else am I going to talk to in the middle of the night?" She sits down and starts licking her paw. "Okay, fine, be like that." Annoyed, I look down at my phone, and my stomach drops. Somehow, as I was talking to the cat, my finger slipped and pressed send.
Chapter 26. Marcus. My phone pings at 2:49 a.m. on Thursday, waking me up less than 2 hours after I got home from work. Cursing, I pick it up and see that it's a text message from Emma. I'm instantly awake, my entire body buzzing with adrenaline as I jackknife to a sitting position and swipe across the screen. "Hey," that's all the message says. I throw off my blanket and turn on the light. I can see the 3 dots dancing on the screen telling me that Emma is about to send a second message. "Hey, do you want to come over? Hey, I've missed you. Hey, so I realize I've made a mistake. Hey, what are you doing tonight?" The possibilities are endless, and I'm fucking dying to see what she's going to say. The 3 dots disappear, as if she stopped typing and deleted her message. 5 seconds later, they reappear. I stare at the phone, my heart pounding with predatory anticipation. I can't wait for her to admit that she wants me, that she's changed her mind about sending me away. I have an important investor meeting first thing in the morning, but if she wants me to come over right now, I'm there. If I could, I'd teleport myself to Brooklyn so I could turn up on her doorstep as soon as I receive that text. She's taking her sweet time composing it, so I get up, unable to sit still. Clutching the phone, I head to the bathroom to get ready in case this is, as I'm hoping, a booty call. I'm almost done shaving when the phone finally pings with a new text. Setting down the razor, I swipe across the screen with one semi-dry finger. "Sorry, sent to the wrong person." I reread the words in disbelief and growing fury. What the fuck? She was texting someone else at 3 a.m.? Fighting the urge to smash the phone against the marble countertop, I roughly wipe away the remnants of the shaving cream and throw the towel in the sink. Theoretically, this someone could be a friend or a relative, but practically, the chances of that are nil. There's only one person you text at this hour, and it's someone you're fucking, or thinking about fucking, and that someone isn't me. White-hot fury sears through me as I picture the guy, probably some asshole fresh out of Peace Corps who owns 1,000,000 cats. He wouldn't have a fucking clue how to please a woman, yet he'd get to be in Emma's bed because he's an animal lover and fucking nice. Well, I am not nice, and I have never given up on something I truly want. Over the past 12 days, I've done my best to forget her, to convince myself to move on, but every night I've dreamed of her, and every morning I've woken up hard and frustrated, unable to focus until I've relieved myself with my fist. Whether I like it or not, this new obsession of mine is not going away, and it's time I've accepted it. Grimly, I open my email and compose a message to the private investigator I use to keep tabs on C-level executives at the companies we're heavily invested in. He operates just this side of the law and can sniff out a scandal years before any gossip rag gets a clue. I've never had him investigate a woman I'm interested in before, but there's always a first time. Stalker move or not, I have to know whom Emma might be seeing, because I'm done playing by the rules. One way or another, the little redhead will be mine.
Emma. The flowers arrive Thursday afternoon, just as my boss is telling me all about his new diet. The vase is so big that the delivery guy strains to lift it onto the counter, and when he finally succeeds, the enormous bouquet of pink, yellow, and red tulips nearly blocks the register. "Is it your birthday today?" Mr. Smithson asks, eyeing the flowers in confusion as I hunt for a card in the forest of stems and leaves. "I could have sworn it was in September." It's definitely in September." My face turns bright red as I find the card and read the one-word message. My boss is still looking at me quizzically, so I lie. "This is just something from my grandparents. I love tulips, and they do this once in a while, to let me know they're thinking of me." "Oh," Mr. Smithson blinks. "Okay, well, enjoy." He ambles away to restock the thrillers, and I exhale, my hand shaking with a mixture of trepidation and excitement as I lift the card and reread the message. It's just one simple word. Hey. I'm almost calm by the time I get home from work, having convinced myself that the bouquet was Marcus's payback for my dumb texts last night. It was definitely a cowardly move on my part to claim that I'd sent that hey to the wrong person, but I panicked and didn't know what else to do. There was no reason for me to be texting him at nearly 3 a.m, other than the obvious, and I'm not ready to go there. I'm tempted to call Kendall and tell her about the texts and the tulips, which, by some odd coincidence, happen to be my favorite flowers. But I resist. She'd twist it all around, and next thing I know, I'd be thinking that Marcus is still interested in me instead of being well on his way to marrying Emmeline or some other equally perfect woman. No, I need to forget all about Marcus and his weirdly nice payback message. It means nothing, and certainly not that he's still interested. This thing between us is over, and now that he let me know how stupid my texts were, I'm sure I won't hear from him again. My conviction holds until the doorbell rings as I'm feeding the cats. "1 second," I yell out, trying not to stumble over Mr. Puffs as I set down his plate and rush over to the door. I don't need a repeat of the other week. There's no one at the door when I open it, but there is a package on the doormat. My pulse jumps. I'm not expecting a delivery. The box is small and light, so I have no trouble lifting it. Heart pounding, I carry it into the kitchen and set it on the counter, then grab a knife to slice through the tape. Inside is another box, a much prettier one with the Saks Fifth Avenue logo on it. Opening it, I gape at the contents inside. A white cashmere scarf, one just like the cheap Chinese brand I put on my Amazon wish list for Christmas. Except it's by some Italian designer and looks 1,000 times more expensive. What the hell? I rummage through the box and find a note. "From your wrong person. it says. Okay, let me get this straight, Kendall says on Friday morning when I cave and call her from work after another sleepless night. You texted him by accident at 3 in the morning on Thursday, and he's already sent you 2 gifts? Yes. A woman browsing through the mystery section gives me an annoyed look, and I sink down in my chair, so I'm half hidden behind the counter. Why would he do that? I continue in a hushed tone. And with those notes, do you think he's just toying with me? Why would he toy with you? Emma, pull your head out of your ass. He obviously still wants you. He sent you, what, flowers and a scarf? Yes, a huge bouquet of tulips and a white cashmere scarf, just like the one I was hoping my grandparents would get me for Christmas, but infinitely fancier. How did he know I needed a scarf, or that I love tulips for that matter? Most people like tulips, and he must have seen you without a scarf. Either way, what does it matter? Kendall's voice rises in exasperation. He sent you gifts. That means he's still really into you. Did you at least text him a thank you? I bite my lip. I wanted to, but okay, seriously, you need to get on that. Like, right now. Text him a thank you and say you want to see him again. Kendall, don't you Kendall me. Text him and call me back when it's done. Excuse me. The woman who is browsing the mystery section approaches the counter, her broad face creased in a disapproving frown. I can't find the latest James Patterson. Of course. Hanging up on Kendall, I jump up, glad for the interruption. Let me show you where it is. As I lead the woman through the bookstore, I try to forget all about Kendall's instructions and the man who's the cause of my turmoil. I still haven't worked up the courage to call or text Marcus by the time I get home. Partially, it's because I have no idea what to say. Is he messing with me, or is this for real? Should I be mad or grateful? The gifts he sent me are outrageously expensive. I know because I looked up the cost of that scarf online, so I should decline them, at the very least. But that would mean getting in touch with Marcus, which brings me back to my dilemma about his intentions. What is he after? Does he still want to date me, or is this all just a game to him? I fed the cats and am halfway through my own dinner when the doorbell rings again. I jump up and rush over, but the FedEx guy who left the package on my doorstep is already getting into his truck. The box is heavy for its size. I bring it into the kitchen and slice through the tape, my hand shaking. Inside are books, each in a hermetically sealed plastic pouch. Gulliver's Travels, Gone with the Wind, and The Count of Monte Cristo. My 3 favorite stories of all time, and each of them a signed first edition. For the first time, I understand people who go for a run when they're stressed. I can't sit still, and I haven't been able to for the past hour. Same goes for finishing my dinner. I'm pacing around my tiny apartment, going from kitchen to bedroom to bathroom and back. My cats are staring at me like I've lost my mind, and it's possible that I have. There's no way a bajillion dollars worth of rare books are sitting on my kitchen counter, along with a note that says, "Pick you up at 7 tonight." It's a prank. It has to be. For the 20th time, I grab my phone and begin composing a message to Marcus. Thank you so much for your insanely generous gifts, but I'm afraid I can't accept them, and I have other plans tonight. Also, are you messing with me? I erase the text before I can send it, just like I erased the 19th attempts before it. Nothing I compose sounds right. I can edit a novel with ruthless precision, suggesting words and phrases that convey the meaning perfectly, but I can't seem to write this text. I've never been so off balance. And worst of all, the clock is ticking, getting inevitably closer to 7. In 17 minutes, Marcus is going to come pick me up, and I still haven't been able to work up the courage to call or text him to make sure that doesn't happen. It's probably best if I talk to him about this in person, I reason, trying to make myself feel better about my inexplicable cowardice. Maybe if I can see his expression, I'll know what he's after, as opposed to making dumb assumptions. Because none of this, the gifts, the ambiguous notes, makes any sense. Obviously, I have no intention of going on a date with him, if pick you up even means a date. And if it does, what kind of asshole tells a woman he's picking her up instead of asking? What if I had other plans? Granted, I didn't, but he can't know that, can he? Then again, how does he know what my favorite books or flowers are, or what kind of scarf I wanted? We'd never talked about that. My head is beginning to hurt from overthinking, so I stop by my bed to scoop up Cotton Ball, who immediately starts purring. I know, baby. Cradling him against my chest, I stroke his soft fur. I haven't cuddled you tonight, and I'm sorry. Maybe Marcus won't show up. It could all be a massive joke, you know. The books might not even be real, but some kind of reproductions. Though I have no idea why he'd bother. Queen Elizabeth lifts her head from my pillow and gives me a narrowed eye look. You don't think it's a joke? I ask over Cotton Ball's loud purr, and she yawns demonstratively. Yeah, okay, maybe it's not that funny, but what else could it be? I told him it's not going to work out between us, and I'm sure he has a million women lined up to date him. She yawns again and puts her head back on the pillow. I know, it's all so confusing, isn't it? I sigh and sit down on the bed next to her, which Mr. Puffs takes as an invitation to shove Cotton Ball off my lap. He gets jealous when I interact with his siblings, so I scratch behind his ears, knowing that if I don't, my remaining accessories are in for a world of pain. Continuing to pet Mr. Puffs, I sneak a glance at my phone. 6:53 p.m. If this were a date, I'd be freaking out about the fact that I'm still dressed in my ratty old sweatpants and a t-shirt covered with cat hair. But I'm not. I'm really not. Because this is not a date. Even if Marcus shows up at my door as promised, I'm just going to give him back the insanely expensive books and calmly explain that I'm not going anywhere. I will tell him to stop sending me gifts with mocking messages and... Oh, who am I kidding? Ignoring Mr. Puff's offended yowl, I push him off my lap and rush to the closet, frantically yanking out one outfit after another. I'm not dressing up for Marcus, it's for me, I tell myself. I want to be presentable because it's the civilized thing to do. I'd do it for anyone, even Kendall. Especially Kendall, come to think of it. I'd never hear the end of it if she saw me looking like a hobo. Of course, as luck would have it, this Saturday is laundry day, and I have next to nothing in my closet. But anything is an upgrade over what I'm currently wearing, so I wriggle into my skinny jeans, so named because I need to be way skinnier to comfortably wear them, and yank on a gray sweater that only has a little bit of cat hair on it. There, done. Never mind that I can barely close the button on the jeans or that pulling on the sweater has created static, making my hair look like I've been struck by lightning. I smooth my palms over the madly puffed up curls, pinch my cheeks to give them a little color, and swipe on a pink lip gloss, just in case. The doorbell rings as I'm about to put on boots instead of my fuzzy house slippers. Crap. I was hoping he wouldn't show. No, that's a lie. I would have been disappointed if he didn't show, but only because I want to give him a piece of my mind. Who the hell does he think he is, getting me those outrageously expensive gifts? That bouquet must have also cost a pretty penny, and ordering me to go on a date with him? I'm so worked up that I stomp over to the door and yank it open, and only then remember the pink fuzzy slippers I still have on. Hi, Marcus murmurs, gazing down at me, and I forget all about my outrage and my slippers, my breath catching at the dark heat in those cool blue eyes. Somehow, over the past 2 weeks, I've forgotten how big he is and how striking his harshly masculine features are. In his intimidating attire of perfectly tailored suit, crisp blue shirt, subtly striped tie, and unbuttoned knee-length coat, he's like some kind of modern-day king, exuding wealth and power, and more than his fair share of potent animal magnetism. I can literally feel my blood rushing faster through my veins, heating up every inch of my skin until the icy gusts of wind outside feel like a balmy summer breeze. Hi, I stutter out, realizing I'm staring up at him with my mouth open. I mean, hello. The inability to use words that had afflicted me with the text messages hasn't gone away, I note with a small part of my brain that's still functioning. The rest of my mind is blank. I can't recall any of the speeches I prepared as I paced across my room, or why I even prepared them in the first place. All I can think about as I look at him is how those big, warm hands had felt on my skin and how those soft, masculine lips had nibbled on my ear, sending chills of pleasure down my body. Emma. His voice is low and deep, so velvety it's like a massage with a happy ending for my ears. Kitten, are you ready? Ready? Oh, God, get it together, Emma. He doesn't mean that sexually. Unless he does, in which case the answer is yes, 1,000 times yes. Maybe other human females don't go into heat, but that's exactly what seems to happen to me when I'm with Marcus. Already my panties are damp, and it's all I can do to stand still instead of leaning in and rubbing against him like a cat marking her territory. To go, he clarifies, glancing down, and I follow his gaze to my slippers, which are still as pink and fuzzy as ever. With a massive effort of will, I gather my scrambled brains. Go where? I'm not— To the Greek place we never got a chance to try the other week, he says smoothly. It's really good, I promise, and not expensive in the least. But it's very casual, too, he says. But you still might want to put on your shoes. Here, those will do. He steps forward, and I instinctively back up, letting him into the apartment and closing the door behind him on autopilot. Ignoring Mr. Puff's hissing at him, Marcus walks past me and picks up the boots I'd taken out of the closet. Then he returns and kneels in front of me, like an assistant at a shoe store. Clasping my ankle in one large hand, he takes off my slipper and starts fitting my sock-clad foot into the boot. What remains of my brain short-circuits, the feel of his hard, warm fingers on my ankle as erotic as if he'd started sucking on my toes. Oh, God, is that a new fantasy of mine? Because all of a sudden I can't think of anything I want more than for Marcus to take off my sock and press his lips to my ankle, then trail hot, wet kisses over the top of my foot before— Here, give me your other foot, he murmurs, jolting me out of my depraved daydream, and I blink, a hot flush crawling up my neck as I realize that one boot is already on my foot, and that he put it there. Feeling like a perverted Cinderella, I blurt out, I can do that, and bend down to intercept him as he reaches for my other foot. Except I miscalculate and my foot comes up just as I'm lowering my head. With a startled cry, I pitch forward, only to catch myself on Marcus's broad shoulders. His hands immediately close around my waist, steadying me, and we end up nose to nose, so close that I can feel his warm breath on my lips and smell the faint hint of cool breeze and fresh pine, his aftershave, most likely. His eyes aren't just blue, I notice dazedly as he pulls me into a kneeling position next to him. His irises have flecks of silver in them, some light enough to be almost white. They're beautiful, and the way his pupils are dilating is mesmerizing me, even as growing arousal quickens my breath and floods my sex with liquid warmth. Emma. The soft, deep timbre of his voice vibrates through me, adding to the hypnotic effect as one of his hands leaves my waist to curve around my jaw, the gesture both tender and possessive. Leaning in another inch, he murmurs hoarsely, Kitten, if you don't want this, tell me now. Yes, tell him. Only my mouth refuses to cooperate, to form the words needed to stop this insanity. Because I do want this. I want it so badly that I ache. I know there are reasons why this is not a good idea, but for the life of me, I can't remember what they are. He correctly interprets my silence, and his lips hover next to mine for only a moment longer before pressing against them in a tenderly demanding kiss. I half expect Marcus to be gone when I come out of the bathroom. After all, he got what he wanted. But he's there, sitting on my bed in his business attire, looking as if nothing's happened. That is, if one ignores the possessive heat in his cool blue eyes as they travel over my short pink robe and the bare legs underneath it. I stop by my closet, eyeing him uncertainly as Mr. Puffs meows from his perch on the top shelf. So, I start, ignoring the cat, about the— I told Wilson to move our reservation by an hour. Marcus stands up, his tall, large figure making my studio look even smaller. We'll make it on time, if you don't take too long to get dressed. I gape at him. You still want to go out to dinner? He frowns. Why wouldn't I? Because you just fucked me 10 ways to Sunday without needing to take me anywhere, I want to say, but I choke back the words in time. No reason, I mumble instead, grabbing a clean pair of panties from the closet before making my way over to the desk, where the jeans, sweater, and bra I'd been wearing are lying neatly folded, with Queen Elizabeth and cotton ball stretched out on top of them. Marcus must have picked up my clothes from the floor or the bed, or wherever they ended up when he pulled them off me. By all logic, I should refuse to go to dinner with him. As hot as the sex was, it doesn't change our incompatibility, nor the fact that he's already met the woman he might marry. For now, I can still nip this in the bud, put a stop to the madness before I get badly hurt. That would be the rational thing to do, the smart thing. Yet I already know I won't do it. I want more of Marcus. I want the madness to continue. Give me a sec, I say breathlessly, and shooing the cats off my desk, I grab my clothes and rush back to the bathroom to get dressed.
Chapter 31. Marcus. All 3 of her cats seem displeased that she's leaving with me, with the big one meowing loudly as I lead Emma out of the apartment, my palm resting on her lower back, on the precise spot where she has those alluring dimples. Fuck, those little indentations are hot, as is everything about her. I was wrong to think that having her a couple of times would quell this craving. If anything, it's stronger now, as the reality has far surpassed my imagination. You've fed them, right? I ask, as I usher her into the back seat of the car. They'll be okay for tonight? She blinks as I climb in beside her and raise the partition between us and Wilson. The cats? Yes, I fed them as soon as I came home. Good. That means she won't be able to use that as an excuse not to go to my place after dinner, because I'm not done with her, not by a long shot. So, about those books, she starts again as our car pulls out into traffic. I meant what I said earlier. I can't accept them. They're a gift, Emma, as are the flowers and the scarf. I keep my tone soft but uncompromising. The books are indeed worth more than her apartment, but I have no intention of taking them back. Having gone through the investigator's report, I understand what's behind her fierce self-reliance, and her reaction to the expensive gifts is exactly what I thought it would be. I suspected she'd see me, if only to return the gifts, and I was right. But where did you even get these books? She asks, frowning. And how did you know those are my favorite stories? I shrug. You mentioned it on social media at one point. Actually, it was part of her college admissions essay, which the investigator found when he hacked into her college records. I have read and reread it several times over the past 2 days, along with the short stories she'd composed for her creative writing class. Turns out, Emma is not only an excellent editor, but also a brilliant writer. Her words flow in such a way that the simplest sentences become compelling, the very rhythm of her writing telling its own tale. However, it's the content of her stories and the admissions essay that had kept me glued to the pages. There's so much more than meets the eye with my little redhead, so much darkness in her past that I wouldn't have guessed at. If I was fascinated by her before, I'm doubly so now that I've had a glimpse into her mind. A couple of nights to slake my lust won't be enough, I see that now. I haven't processed what that means yet, but I can no longer deny it. My obsession with Emma Walsh isn't purely sexual anymore. You stalked me on social media? She sounds appalled. I make a mental note never to mention the investigator in front of her. Of course. Isn't that what it's for? Why else do you put your life out there for everyone to see? It's for my friends to see, not strangers. She bites her lip. This is bad. I'm going to have to review my privacy settings. That's a good idea in general, I say, and I mean it. Though it wouldn't keep her safe from me, run-of-the-mill stalkers, or nosy reporters who might come sniffing around her as a result of our relationship won't be able to access her profile as easily. She looks out the window, still chewing on her bottom lip, then turns back to look at me again. Is that how you knew about the scarf? Through my social media? Because I don't remember mentioning that online ever. I give her a placid smile. You might want to check the privacy settings on your Amazon wish list. She groans and covers her face with her palms. God, you are a stalker. You have no idea. I've known this about myself, that I'm more ruthless, more determined than most. But until I met her, all my energy had been directed at my career. To succeed, I've done things others might have balked at, and I have zero regrets. I've always been this way, driven and remorseless, and if not for my second-grade teacher, Mr. Bond, encouraging my aptitude for math, I might have chosen to build my fortune in the criminal underworld instead of Wall Street. It would have been a more logical route to wealth for a kid like me. Either way, I want Emma the way I once wanted my first billion, with a single-minded intensity that lets nothing stand in my way. I'm glad she texted me when she did, giving me this opening, because I wouldn't have been able to stay away from her much longer. What can I say? I'm a man who goes after what he wants, I say lightly, as if it's all a joke. But from the look Emma gives me when she lowers her hands, I know she's taking my words at face value. Smart girl. Why me? She demands bluntly. Why don't you go after this Emmeline? Isn't she like your dream woman? Not at the moment. I haven't spared Emmeline a single thought in the past 2 days, nor in the past week, come to think of it. We still have our date on the calendar for when she'll be in New York on her business trip, but I can't work up so much as a smidgen of enthusiasm at the thought. If anything, the idea of going out to dinner with Emmeline feels like an unpleasant obligation. So you haven't seen her since the first night we met? Emma asks, her gray eyes trained intently on my face, and I shake my head. No, I haven't. And I won't, I realize, with a peculiar tightness in my chest, not as long as this obsession with Emma continues. Not only do I not have the slightest inclination to do so, but it wouldn't be fair to either of the women. Emma and I might have just started dating, but I'd destroy any man who comes near her, which means that for the duration of whatever this is between us, I can't see anyone else either. A hypocrite is one thing I'm not. Emma's tense expression eases, but then her eyes narrow. What about other women? Has your matchmaker set you up with anyone else? If I were Ashton or most other guys I know, I might have balked at the question, because it sounds a lot like a demand for exclusivity, a serious step so early on in the relationship. But given what I've just decided, I answer calmly, no, there's no one else. Oh, she stares at me. Okay, then. What about you? I ask, though I already know the answer. Are you seeing the guy you meant to text the other night? An adorable flush covers her freckled cheeks. No. I might have fibbed about that. Did you? I knew this, of course. Her dating status was the first thing my investigator checked on, but I'm enjoying her discomfort too much to let it go. You mean you meant to text me at 3 a.m? She glares at me. It was a mistake, all right? I was talking to my cat and my finger pressed send accidentally. I didn't mean to do it. I see. I reach over and pick up her hand. Toying with her delicate fingers, I ask, did your cat choose my number and type out that hey? More delicious color floods her face, and her hand curls into a tiny fist in my grip. Maybe. I'm not sure what happened. Just let it be, okay? A dark smile tugs at my lips. You'd like that, wouldn't you? How about I tell you what happened? I lean in, my voice deepening as I murmur, there you were, in the middle of the night, all alone in your bed and unable to sleep. Maybe you'd read a sexy story in the evening, or maybe, just maybe, you'd had a dream. Her hand twitches in my grasp, and my smile grows more wicked. Ah, yes, it was a dream. Was I in it, kitten? What was I doing to you? As I speak, her color heightens further, and a visible pulse appears in her neck. Hush, she hisses, her eyes darting to the partition separating us from Wilson. He'll hear you. Then tell me if I'm right. I bring her hand to my mouth and brush her knuckles back and forth across my lips. Was I what you were dreaming about that night? Was I? Yes! She's now flushed all over, her breathing fast and uneven as she yanks her hand away. You're right, okay? You're right. Happy now? Yes, I say hoarsely when I'm able to talk again. Very happy. And as she turns to stare out the window, her cheeks bright red, I take deep breaths, trying to cool the raging fire in my blood.
Chapter 32. Emma. Oh my God, this is so good. I moan around a mouthful of cheese that was on fire just a few moments ago. I'd never tried halloumi before, and I'd been seriously missing out. Not only was it fun to watch the waiter set flame to the block of cheese as he brought it out, but the result is beyond delicious. Rich, salty, a little crispy on the outside, and gooey melty on the inside. Probably 1,000,000 calories in each bite, but so worth it. It's one of my favorite things here, Marcus says huskily, his blue eyes intent on my face. And a fresh wave of color washes over me as I realize that my near-orgasmic reaction to the food is turning him on again. The man is a sex fiend, clearly, and so am I when I'm around him. Still, after he got that embarrassing confession out of me, we'd somehow managed a normal conversation for the rest of the ride, with me babbling about my job at the bookstore and Marcus attentively listening. I don't know if he was really interested or merely indulging me, but I can't deny that it felt good to have his undivided attention. And I still have it, despite, at least, 2 women in this place doing their best to get him to notice them. I have no idea if they know who he is or if they're just responding to his commanding good looks. But either way, I don't like it. To his credit, Marcus seems oblivious to their existence, even when the supermodel hot blonde purposefully drops her purse in front of his chair, so she can bend over and show off her tiny, toned ass in her skimpy dress. I gape at her, stunned by her brazenness, but Marcus doesn't so much as spare her a glance. Nor does he look at the gorgeous brunette 2 tables over, who's already paraded in front of our table twice, flipping her long, straight locks over her shoulder each time and smiling at Marcus like he's Thor reincarnated. Do you come here a lot? I ask, stifling the urge to trip up the brunette when she walks by our table yet again, swaying her slim hips like she's on a catwalk. To this restaurant, I mean. He nods, cutting into his own portion of the halloumi. It's only a few blocks from my place, so I'm here at least once a month. That explains it. I bet those 2 have found out that a billionaire frequents this restaurant, and they're here specifically to meet him. Maybe they've even bribed a waiter to learn about Marcus's reservation. Why else would the blonde be sitting at a table all by herself? Women, especially gorgeous women, don't go to nice sit-down restaurants on their own. The brunette, at least, appears to be with a friend, who, come to think of it, is glaring at me as if she'd like to ask the waiter to set me on fire. I look away, the last bite of cheese turning bitter in my mouth as I realize she probably thinks I'm like her friend, a gold digger. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, everyone knows your mom's a hoe. I reach for my glass of water with an unsteady hand, the childish taunt ringing in my ears as if it's been minutes instead of years since I've heard it. Emma. A large, warm palm covers my free hand. Are you okay? I nod and force a smile to my face. Yes, of course. Why wouldn't I be? Maybe because you suddenly looked like someone spit in your plate, Marcus says dryly, withdrawing his hand. No, I take a sip of water and set the glass down. People here know who you are, don't they? Ah. His gaze clears as if he's solved a mystery. Yes, they do. At least the owner and the staff. Is that what's bothering you? You're worried some of them might think you're with me for my money? I flinch instinctively. Marcus is either eerily perceptive, or my hang-ups are more obvious than I thought. Unless, do you think I'm with you for your money? I blurred, horrified. Because I promise you, it's not at all what— No, of course not. His jaw flexes. I don't think that at all. Oh, okay. I chew on my lips, studying his closed-off expression. Are you sure? Because I understand why you'd be concerned, and I can assure you that I would never— I know, kitten. His hard face softening, he reaches across the table to cover my hand again. I know you would never use me like that. Use me. I stare at him, the air in my lungs thickening until it feels like I'm sucking in water. User, whore, sociopath, manipulative bitch. How do you know? My voice sounds as choked as I feel, all the epithets hurled at my mother playing in my mind on a loop. What makes you so sure? You. His gaze is steady on my face as his thumb rubs a circle on the inside of my wrist. The way you are. But you don't really know me. We've just met and— I know enough. I stare at him, the pressure in my lungs intensifying. His trust is both heartwarming and crushing. Because he doesn't know, not really. If he knew the full truth, he wouldn't be so quick to dismiss this possibility. I certainly wouldn't in his shoes. Shakily, I withdraw my hand from his hold. My mother, she was a user, I say, forcing the words past the tightness in my throat. I don't know why I feel compelled to tell him this, but I do. If he walks away, I want it to be now, before I can fall any deeper under his spell. His gaze turns inscrutable. What do you mean by that? I mean that she used people, all people, but especially men who were interested in her. I swallow the growing knot in my throat. Once, when I was 9, she slept with my science teacher so he wouldn't give me a bad grade on a test. And before you ask, no, she didn't really care about my grades. She just wanted to show a decent report card to her parents, my grandparents, so they'd stop accusing her of neglecting me while she partied all over the city, dragging me from one boyfriend's place to another's whenever she got bored. Marcus's expression doesn't change, so I plow on, determined to make him understand. They said she had an antisocial personality disorder, lacked empathy and all that. A sociopath, but not a particularly smart one, you know? Because the smart ones get far in life, and she didn't, though she wasn't hampered by anything like morals and ethics. The only person she cared about was herself, and she did whatever it took to get her way. Lying, cheating, stealing, and always, always using people. You included, he asks quietly, and I shrug, though my throat feels even tighter. I suppose, though, I was too young to be of much use to her. She did like to dress me up and parade me in front of her boyfriends, kind of like a pet. Mostly, though, she ignored me, but that's not the point. I drag in a breath. Look, Marcus, the reason why I'm telling you this is you are not like her. His gaze drills into me. Do you hear me? You are nothing like her. I stare at him, startled by the intensity in his voice. I know, but you are nothing like your mother, he repeats in a softer tone, and something inside me, a cold knot I never knew was there, begins to melt, a warm feeling creeping in. Thank you, I say hoarsely, and then I have to look away as our waiter comes by, bringing the main course. I don't want him or Marcus to see the sheen of tears in my eyes.
Chapter 33. Marcus. Guilt, strong and unfamiliar, flavors every bite of the buttery branzino that is my main course. Emma got herself a Greek salad, and my chest aches as I watch her eat it, her manner unusually subdued. She opened up to me. She told me about her painful secret, and it was all I could do to let her carry on as if I was hearing it for the first time. As if I didn't already know about the whole ugly mess. She didn't tell me everything, of course, like the fact that her mother was once arrested for prostitution, or that she died in a car crash while being chased by a lover whose bank account she'd emptied earlier that day. But what she told me was enough. Enough to know that her fear of turning out like her mother, the fear she'd talked about in her college essay, is still there, as much a part of her as her red hair and softly freckled skin. And I, asshole that I am, used that fear against her, sending her expensive gifts so that she'd have no choice but to see me in person. In a way, I am like her mother, willing to do whatever it takes to get my way. I'm sorry, I say quietly when she continues eating without speaking. Emma, kitten, I'm so sorry you had to go through all that. My phone vibrates in my pocket, but I ignore it. Work can wait. She looks up from her plate, blinking. What? Oh, no, it's fine. My mother wasn't abusive or anything, and in any case, she died in an accident when I was 11, and my grandparents raised me from that point on. I was just telling you all that in case, She stops, pretty color spreading over her fair skin. In case we get serious? Her flush deepens. It's okay. Fuck, it's more than okay. I like the idea. Love it, in fact. To my shock, I realize that I want her to think about getting serious, to picture us together in the future, because I'm already doing that myself. Shoving the unsettling thought away, I focus on the topic at hand. Emma, listen to me, I say when she resumes eating. I don't give a flying fuck about your mother. Well, I do. I'd love to go back in time and have you taken away from her long before you were 11, but I don't care what kind of woman birthed you. That doesn't determine who you are, doesn't change my opinion of you in any way. She puts down her fork, her lips curving in a faint smile. You don't think blood will tell? No, I don't. How could I with parents like mine? I hesitate for a moment, then say bluntly, my father was killed in prison when I was 2. He was there for armed robbery and assault, and my mother was an alcoholic. Not the functional kind either, a full-on 24/7 drunk. She died from liver failure when I was 18. I haven't told anyone this in decades. In fact, I've gone to great pains to obscure my past from the media as soon as I had the resources to do so. The only thing my current friends and acquaintances know about my childhood is that I was raised in Staten Island by a single mother who passed away from a rare liver disease. No ugliness, no drama, just your run-of-the-mill lower middle-class upbringing. For some reason, though, I want Emma to know everything, to understand what kind of man she's dealing with. Because if there's any kernel of truth to the whole blood will tell business, mine is far more tainted than hers. Her eyes widen at my revelations, but to my relief, she looks neither put off nor disgusted. I'm sorry, she says softly, reaching across the table to lay her small hand on my arm. That must have been so hard for you growing up that way. Did you have anyone you could turn to for help? Grandparents? Other family members? There's genuine sympathy in her voice, and I know that she, of all people, understands what it's like to grow up essentially on your own, to take care of yourself from a young age. To know that your mother, the person who's supposed to have your best interests at heart, can't be trusted. Neither of my parents came from a close-knit family, but I had a lot of support in school, I answer, figuring she might as well know everything. My second-grade teacher, Mr. Bond, was particularly instrumental in guiding me through elementary school and beyond. It's thanks to him that I chose to focus on my studies rather than making a quick buck on the streets. Oh? I smile at the curiosity in her gaze. Money was tight, as you can imagine, so by the time I was 8, I was doing whatever it took to put food on the table, running errands for the local gangs, peddling weed on the streets, stealing school supplies. It's the latter that got me caught and nearly expelled. Mr. Bond stepped in at the last moment, vouching for me, and then he sat me down and told me about some legitimate ways I could make money, starting with the tutoring of kids whose math skills weren't as good as my own. He also gave me several issues of Forbes magazine and told me all about the rich people on the cover, about how they got there and how I could get there too. A soft smile curves her lips. And you did, didn't you? I did. I don't try to hide the satisfaction in my voice. They wrote a feature on me shortly after I made my first billion. Wow! Her smile widens, revealing those cute dimples. Mr. Bond must be so proud of you. Do you still keep in touch with him? I did. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. Pancreatic cancer, I explained, my throat tightening. I did everything in my power to help him, but neither the world-class doctors I hired nor the experimental treatments I paid for could arrest the deadly disease. It was the most powerless I'd felt as an adult. Emma's smile disappears. I'm sorry. That must have been a terrible loss for you. Thank you, I say evenly. He was a good man. My only consolation is that his children and grandchildren will never have to struggle financially, thanks to the $70 million trust I set up in his name, explaining it to the lawyers as a lottery he'd won shortly before his death. The waiter comes by to clear our plates and bring out the dessert menu, and I use the distraction to push away the lingering grief. I've never spoken about this with anyone, but somehow it felt right to confide in Emma, to have her know the real me, not the sanitized mask I show to the world. The waiter leaves, and Emma glances at the dessert menu for a second before setting it aside. I smile wryly. Let me guess, not hungry. Now that I know she's trying to keep her portion of the check to a minimum, I can pretty much predict what she will and won't order. I actually had dinner, well, half of it, before I got your latest gift, she says. Speaking of which, if you don't mind, I'm going to get the baklava, I say, as if I didn't hear her. She's going to try to refuse the books again, and I'm not about to let that happen. It's amazing here, the best I've ever had. She blinks. Of course, go right ahead. I smile wider and motion to the waiter. The baklava, please, I tell him when he hurries over, and bring 2 plates, we'll share. Oh, I'm not going to, Emma starts, but I hold up my hand as the waiter rushes away. It's only fair. I shared your ice cream, so I owe you at least a bite of my dessert, I say with utter seriousness. But no buts. And I'm getting the dessert on my portion of the check. You're not the only one who believes in fairness. Oh. Her small white teeth worry her lower lip. Okay then, I guess I can try a bite. I conceal a satisfied grin. This might be a small thing, getting her to share my dessert, but it's a step in the right direction. Before long, I intend to be paying for all our meals, as well as anything else she might want or need. First, though, I have to cure her of her fear of being like her mother, one bite of baklava at a time. The waiter returns, bringing the dessert. Before she can say anything, I cut a piece and put it on her plate. Try it, I urge, pushing the plate toward her, and she forks the honey-layered pastry into her mouth. The baklava is small, so we make quick work of it, and then I motion for the check. Emma grabs it again, and I let her, though it pains me to see her carefully count out the bills for her portion. In the investigator's report, there was a section on her finances, the miserable state of which makes it even more insane that she's doing this. Finally, the bill is paid, and I lead her out of the restaurant, my hand resting on the small of her back. Where's Wilson? She asks, looking around for the car. Or are we taking a cab? Then her eyes widen, her cheeks flushing, as she realizes what she's implied. Never mind, I forgot you live nearby. I'll just take the subway home, and we're less than 4 blocks from my place. So I gave Wilson the rest of the evening off, I say, turning to face her. Capturing her small hands in mine, I gaze at her upturned face. Emma, kitten, I want you to come home with me.
Chapter 34. Emma. I don't know what I expected from a billionaire's residence, but Marcus's penthouse in Tribeca is like something from another world. A world I've only seen in glossy magazines and TV shows about the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Ultra-modern and decorated in shades of gray and white, the place is huge, at least for New York City. Maybe in the South or Midwest, where land is cheap, an apartment this size would be nothing special. But in the heart of Manhattan, it's the equivalent of a 50-carat diamond. As Marcus guides me around, I see an enormous living room with a sleek spiral staircase in the middle, a movie theater-like media room, a fully equipped home gym, a dining area with a table big enough for 20 people, and a spacious kitchen with gleaming appliances that wouldn't look out of place on a spaceship. And A pool. A 40-foot-long rectangular swimming pool separated from the rest of the apartment by a thick glass wall and partially shielded from view by 8-foot-tall potted plants with leaves the size of my head. Are they real? I ask in a hushed tone, reaching out to touch one glossy leaf, and Marcus nods, smiling. Yes, of course. There's an indoor landscaping company that comes in to take care of them once a week, watering them and so on. Right, of course, because that's what wealthy people do, hire professional landscapers to take care of their houseplants. Do you have a chef and a housekeeper as well? I ask, but to my surprise, Marcus shakes his head. My butler handles everything, including the cooking and the cleaning. Well, he oversees the cleaning. There's a company that actually does it. I see. I sound slightly choked, but I can't help it. A freaking butler? Am I in Downton Abbey? Come, let me show you upstairs, Marcus says, and I follow him to the spiral staircase, trying not to look as overwhelmed as I feel. I knew he was rich, of course, but it didn't sink in fully before this. Everywhere I look are objects that cost more than all of my family's possessions combined, from the abstract paintings on the walls to the sleek sculptures that could have been in a modern art museum. This penthouse reeks of money. Insane money. The kind of money that makes a joke of my attempts to pretend that because I pay for my meals, we're somehow on equal footing. God, what am I doing here? I don't belong in this place any more than a subway rat would. This is the library, Marcus says, leading me into the first room off the stairs on the second floor, and I see 2 lounge chairs in front of a fireplace and walls lined with books. Some of the bookshelves are covered with what appears to be hermetically sealed glass. They must hold more valuable books, like the signed first editions that he sent me. Feeling like Belle in Beauty and the Beast, I walk over to one of the glass cases and peer inside. Yep, Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, the pages yellowed and slightly frayed. I have no doubt that if I opened the cloth-bound cover, I'd see the author's bold scrawl on the title page. Have you read all of these? I ask, looking up when Marcus comes to stand next to me. Most, but not all, he says. Some of the first editions, like the one you're looking at, are just part of my collection. As I started to tell you on our first date, I like books too, both reading and collecting them. Huh. Maybe we have more in common than I thought. It's always been my dream to have a shelf full of my favorite authors' signed copies. Is that where you got the first editions you sent me? From your collection? He smiles. Indeed. I'm glad I happen to have your favorites. I take in a deep breath. Right. Thank you for that. Unfortunately, I can't. Here, let me show you the rest of the place. Deftly, he shepherds me out of the library and into a guest room bigger than my entire studio. His home office, with 5 computer monitors and 3 TVs mounted on the walls, follows, and then we finally step into the master bedroom. Instantly, my heartbeat picks up speed, my skin prickling with increased awareness of the man beside me. During the tour, I was so overwhelmed by the opulence around me that I almost forgot why I'm here. But now it's all I can think about, my mind flashing to the heated look in Marcus's eyes when he held my hands and asked me to come home with him. His thoughts must be traveling along the same pathways because his steely fingers loop around my wrist, and when I look up, I find his gaze filled with dark, primal intent. Emma. His voice is low and rough as he pulls me to him. Kitten, I want you. And as my insides clench on an answering surge of need, his lips crash against mine in a deep, voracious kiss. Not wanting to leave the luxuriant warmth of the blanket and the silky softness of the sheets, my limbs feel heavy as I stretch, and my inner thighs are oddly sore, as if I'd done some hardcore yoga. Even my skin is strangely tender, especially in the more intimate. Oh God. I sit up and look around the unfamiliar bedroom, a burst of adrenaline chasing away the grogginess as I realize where I am and why I'm feeling like this. I'm in Marcus's bedroom, and he fucked me all night long. Okay, maybe that last bit is an exaggeration, but that's what it felt like. The man was insatiable, taking me over and over, as if we hadn't had sex just a couple of hours earlier. I've lost count of how many times I'd orgasmed last night. 7, 8, 9 maybe? No wonder my sex feels like it's been scraped raw with male whiskers, because it has been. My skin heats at the memory, and I pull up the blanket, realizing I'm sitting there totally naked. Thankfully, I'm alone. Gripping the blanket, I look around for my clothes. I don't see them anywhere, but there is a fluffy pink robe, much like the one I have at home, hanging on the door, and matching fuzzy slippers next to the bed. I hesitate for a moment, then slide my feet into the slippers and beeline for the robe. I hate the idea of wearing the same thing as Marcus's other hookups, but it's better than prancing around naked. To my surprise, the robe has a tag attached. Did he get it just for me? Or does he keep a stash for these types of situations? Either way, I gratefully rip off the tag and put on the robe, wrapping the tie around my waist. Unlike mine, it's long, all the way down to my ankles, and I instantly feel warm and cozy, as if I'm at home cuddling with my cats. Speaking of which, I have to get back to them soon. They're not used to me being out all night, and I'm sure Mr. Puffs is already on a path of destruction. Plus, if I don't do laundry today, I'll have no underwear for tomorrow. Marcus is still nowhere to be seen, so I hurry into the adjoining bathroom and take a quick shower. Then brush my teeth with a toothbrush I find considerately laid out by the sink, still in its plastic wrapper. There's also a nice, expensive face moisturizer, unscented just like I prefer, and even a bottle of hair gel that I used to tame the worst of the frizzy explosion on my head. My host is really acing this whole having a female guest thing. As I do all this, I try not to gape at my surroundings like a peasant. So what if the square whirlpool tub in the corner is deep enough to stand in? Or that the all-glass shower stall is twice the size of my entire bathroom and equipped with 5 rotating shower heads? None of that impresses me. Not even the futuristic-looking toilet with a built-in bidet and a seat that warms my butt. Oh, who am I kidding? I couldn't be more impressed if the furniture levitated around me. The 0.1% really do know how to live. Shaking my head, I go back into the bedroom to try to find my clothes again. No luck, though I distinctly remember my jeans and sweater landing on the floor as Marcus yanked them off me. He must have picked them up and put them somewhere. But where? I don't see them in the walk-in closet, where Marcus's suits and shirts hang neatly, sorted by color. Nor are they in any of the drawers in the sleek white chest inside the closet. There are just socks, t-shirts, men's underwear. I close that drawer fast, feeling like a perv. And other foldable items of clothing. Like the rest of the closet, everything in the drawers is arranged with perfect neatness, as if Marie Kondo just blitzed through the place. Either Marcus has OCD or his butler does. My boots are also nowhere to be found, but that makes more sense. I left them in the entryway, not wanting to track New York City dirt all over the gleaming floor when we came in. I stand up on my tiptoes to peer into a built-in shelf in the faint hope that Marcus might have stuffed my clothes in there. Nope, just a box with cufflinks and… Emma. Heart jumping, I spin around to face Marcus, who's standing in the closet doorway, dark eyebrows arched. Oh, crap. I should have realized how this could look. Hi. Good morning. I sound breathless and probably guilty as sin. So sorry, but my clothes, they weren't there. I swear I wasn't trying to snoop, it's just that I was looking for my clothes and… It's okay. He steps in, a slow, wicked smile curving his lips. You can snoop all you want. As for the clothes, I gave them to Joffrey to be laundered. They should be ready in about an hour. Oh. That someone would wash my clothes hadn't even entered my mind. Okay, thanks. So much for my plan to make a quick escape this morning. Do you have someplace to be? He inquires, cocking his head, and my cheeks warm as I realize he's dressed in a pair of sweatpants and a soft-looking t-shirt. The first time I'm seeing him in something other than his business attire. Or naked, because I've definitely seen him naked. Stop thinking about sex, Emma, and stop blushing. My cats will be upset if I don't come home soon, I say, my face burning despite the admonitions. And I'm supposed to Skype with my grandparents at 11:30. Speaking of which, do you know what time it is? He grins. Last I checked, it was 11:23. What? What can I say? You didn't get that much sleep last night. Because he kept waking me up by sliding into me, or going down on me, or sucking on my... Oh God, here I go again. Right, okay. With effort, I focus on something other than the way the soft material of the t-shirt hugs his defined pecs. Where's my purse? I need to text my grandparents to reschedule. Why? You can Skype here. My internet is really fast, and I'll give you privacy. I blink. Here? As in, your bedroom? Or library, or guest room, wherever you prefer. You might not want to do it downstairs, though. Joffrey is cooking up a storm for brunch, and the smells will drive you crazy. He's driving me crazy. Doesn't he realize that if I Skype my grandparents from someplace other than my apartment, I'll have to explain where I am? No, that's okay, thanks. I'll just... Why not? He folds his powerful arms across his chest, drawing my attention to the flexing muscles. Food won't be ready for another half hour anyway. Joffrey started cooking late, as I wasn't sure when you'd wake up. I tear my eyes away from those impressive biceps. You don't understand. My grandparents are nosy, really nosy, and I don't want to lie to them and claim I'm in some fancy hotel. Why would you lie to them? I stare at him dumbfounded. Well, I'm not going to tell them that we... You know. Why not? Are they old-fashioned? Do they expect you to wait until marriage? No, they're actually pretty liberal, but they're my grandparents. How dense is he? If I tell them about you, they'll think it's a big deal and ask a million questions and want to meet you and stuff. There, spelled out in detail. Now run for the hills as any sane man would. He uncrosses his arms, not looking the least bit concerned. That's fine. I'm happy to meet them. You are? Is there something wrong with my hearing? Because I'm pretty sure Marcus just told me that he wants to meet my family. Yeah, why not? Feel free to introduce me when you talk to them. I'll be in my office catching up on work. Oh, and the Wi-Fi password is Bond $Corelli 19. And with that, he walks out of the room, or rather, his ginormous closet. Chapter 36. Emma. I don't call my grandparents. Not at 11:30, at least. It takes me several minutes to find my purse in Marcus's huge bedroom. It was sneakily hanging on the back of the door. And when I finally fish out my phone, it's already 11:37 a.m., and I have a worried text from Grandma. I'm normally never late when it comes to our bi-weekly Skype sessions. Now I can't not explain. If I just text back to reschedule, she'll think something is seriously wrong. Phone in hand, I look around. The bedroom is as gorgeous as the rest of the penthouse, and there's a nook with a sleek lounge chair where I can Skype. But I really don't feel comfortable talking to my grandparents next to the bed where Marcus fucked my brains out. Repeatedly. It's bad enough I'll be sitting in a borrowed robe. Library it is, then. I rush over there and plop my butt into one of the chairs by the fireplace. Then I get my phone on the Wi-Fi, send the video call request, and wait. Emma, sweetheart. Grandma's rounded face fills the small screen with Gramps' ear next to her. What happened? Is everything okay? Yeah, I just woke up late. I'm so sorry. How are you guys doing? Oh, we're great. Already prepping for Thursday, Grandma says, beaming as Gramps moves fully into the camera view. With a start, I realize she's talking about Thanksgiving, which means I'm flying out to Florida this Wednesday, having bought the plane tickets on a mad sale last year. Your grandmother's already gotten the turkey, Gramps says as proudly as if it were his achievement, and she found a new stuffing recipe online. He peers at me, his nose growing as he leans closer to the camera. Wait a minute, you're not at home. No. Crap, I'm so not ready for this. If I'd remembered that Thanksgiving, complete with endless opportunities for interrogation, is this coming week, I definitely wouldn't have done the call here. I'm at a friend's place. Grandma blinks. Really? Which friend? Kendall or Janie? She leans closer to the camera as well. That fireplace looks nice. Are all of those bookshelves? Yep. Sighing, I turn my phone around and move it in a slow semicircle, letting them see the whole room, because they would have badgered me into doing it anyway. Lots of books here. Your friend must really like to read, Gramps says, impressed. Is that how you met through your work? So it's not Kendall or Janie, Grandma says, stating the obvious. I turn the phone back to face me. No, it's someone else. Damn it, why did I let Marcus prod me into this? Short of outright lying, anything I say will make this thing between us sound way more serious than it is. Not that I know what level of seriousness we're at, anyway. It's not a one-night stand, as we'd been on a couple of dates prior to hooking up. A weekend fling, maybe? Casual dating? It's certainly not the start of a real relationship, not with him dead set on marrying someone like Emmeline. My grandparents are staring at me expectantly, and I know I need to tell them something. Sighing, I pinch the bridge of my nose. It's no one you know, just a guy I met a couple of weeks ago, okay? If this were a movie, the soundtrack would have come to a screeching halt. As is, the silence is deafening, both of them staring at me slack-jawed. Finally, my grandfather speaks. A guy? He sounds incredulous. As in, a boyfriend? I wince. We're not quite there, Gramps, but yes, someone I'm dating. I hope I don't have to explain the nuances of modern dating to him, because I'm not sure I understand them myself, especially in light of Marcus's bizarre willingness to meet my grandparents. I could have sworn casual hookups and family don't mix. Is that a robe you're wearing? Grandma asks, peering at my shoulders. It looks like a robe. Crap, I was hoping they wouldn't notice. My clothes are in the laundry, I explain, then realize I just made it sound like Marcus and I are living together. That is, the clothes I was wearing last night. I don't keep anything else here. Marcus decided to wash them before I woke up, hence the robe. That's probably TMI. In general, all of this is TMI, but my grandparents clearly don't mind. Gramps is grinning, and Grandma looks positively gleeful as she asks, Marcus? Is that his name? At my nod, she presses, How did you two meet? Oh, just through a dating app. Or more precisely, through a mix-up related to a dating app, but that's too long of a story. Really? Grandma leans in. We didn't know you were doing online dating. Yeah, I didn't mention it because it wasn't a big deal. Janie talked me into creating a profile a few months back, but I've only logged on a couple of times. Which was clearly enough to meet Marcus and end up at his place, in a robe, Gramps states, his bushy eyebrows twitching with excitement. I blow out an exasperated breath, wishing for once that my grandparents could be all stodgy and conservative, like most others of their generation. Instead, at nearly 80 years of age, they're as open-minded as any millennial, having embraced the changing mores of the times, along with the technology of email, social media, texting, and Skype. I don't want Gramps to brandish a shotgun or anything, but still, a little bit of Catholic disapproval wouldn't hurt. We're just getting to know one another, Gramps. This probably won't go anywhere, I say, but I can tell my warning is falling on deaf ears. My dating life, or lack thereof since college, has been a source of concern for my grandparents, to the point that I was tactfully told during my last Thanksgiving visit that it was perfectly fine to embrace my needs and inclinations, no matter what they might be. Translation, they thought I might be gay and in the closet. So how old is he? Grandma asks, launching into her patented interrogation mode. Where is he from? What does he do? How many siblings does he have? And when can we meet him? I open my mouth to start answering, but then I change my mind. You know what, Grandma? I say sweetly. Why don't you meet Marcus right now? He can tell you everything himself. And getting up, I carry the phone to my host's office.
Chapter 37. Marcus. I'm 35, an only child, originally from Staten Island, and I run a hedge fund, I say smoothly, propping Emma's phone on my desk while she stands in front of me with an evil little smirk on her rosebud lips. She's clearly expecting me to be discomfited by her grandmother's barrage of questions. Too bad for her, I've honed my skills through dozens of interviews on live TV. Really? What kind of hedge fund? There's a look of keen interest on Ted Walsh's aged face. I follow CNBC, you know. I smile at him. We focus on alpha generation under all market conditions, so it's a mix of everything, from commodities to long-short equity to quant strategies. Lately, we've also been dabbling in some illiquid investments, including real estate and private equity. And how long have you two been dating? Mary Walsh asks, her gray eyes as bright and clear as her granddaughter's. It's obvious all the finance lingo has gone right over her head, and she couldn't care less about my fund strategies. Emma said you met through a dating app? I glance over the screen at Emma. She shrugs awkwardly, so I reply, You could say that. I guess she didn't feel like telling her grandparents the whole messy story. As to how long we've been together, our first date was earlier this month. Mary launches into her next set of questions, and I answer with calm patience. Yes, I've lived in New York City all my life, except when I was away at school. Where did I go? Cornell for undergrad, finance major, and Wharton for MBA. No, I don't have any family I'm close to, as my parents passed away when I was young. Yes, I own my apartment and a few other properties as well. No, I have no plans to move out of New York to save on taxes. For some reason, the interrogation doesn't bother me, nor does the fact that with this call, we've just leapfrogged over months of typical relationship development. Offering to meet Emma's grandparents had been an impulse on my part, but one I can't bring myself to regret. Last night didn't scratch my Emma itch. If anything, it made it stronger. And my fascination with her is growing by the minute. I want to know everything about her, to crawl into her mind and see the world from the inside of her pretty head. At the very least, I want to meet everyone important to her so I can figure out how to become one of those people. Finally, Emma's grandparents seem satisfied that I'm neither a bum nor a serial killer, and we're already saying our goodbyes, with Emma standing next to me, when Mary says, You're not flying in with our Emma this coming week, are you, Marcus? Because if you are, I'll be sure to make some extra food. Before I can say a word, Emma is already shaking her head. Of course not, Grandma. I told you, we've just met, and besides, Marcus's work is crazy busy, right? Her eyes cut to me. You have an insane week at the fund, don't you? Yes. My voice doesn't sound entirely like my own. Yes, I do. A killer workload all week long. We understand. Mary smiles gently. But if you do manage to get free, you're always welcome at our Thanksgiving table, Marcus. It was a pleasure meeting you. Likewise, I say, and give the phone to Emma to disconnect the call. I had no intention of going to Florida this week. Even I know that's too big of a step so soon. But for some reason, the knowledge that Emma doesn't want me there stings worse than a Portuguese man-of-war.
Chapter 38. Emma. Marcus is unusually quiet, almost brooding, as he leads me downstairs for brunch. Is he upset with me for allowing the grilling? Because he pretty much asked for it, insisted on it, really. Still, I feel a little bad that I let my grandparents put him through the ringer. I should have shielded him from the worst of it, like I'd always done with Jim, my college boyfriend. Oh well, too late now. And Marcus had held his own, the way Jim could never have. He'd spoken to my grandparents respectfully, but as an equal, answering their questions without the slightest hint of nervousness or uncertainty. At the same time, he hadn't boasted about his accomplishments, all of his answers factual, but revealing little of the extent of his power and wealth. Of course, Gramps and Grandma had been impressed anyway, and why wouldn't they be? It's not his billions that make Marcus Corelli formidable. It's the steely, indomitable core of the man himself. A few minutes in his company is all it takes to know that he's a force of nature, someone you'd never want to cross. You okay? I ask softly as we approach the dining area with Marcus still not saying a word. The rich, savory aromas emanating from the kitchen are making my stomach growl, but I'm too concerned about his strange mood to think about food. I'm sorry about my grandparents. They're just protective of you. He smiles, and though it doesn't quite reach his eyes, the strange tension between us fades. They seem like lovely people. Your grandfather reminds me a bit of Mr. Bond. I beam at him. Yes, they're great. And Gramps actually was a teacher. He taught English and social studies for almost 40 years before retiring. Marcus's smile warms. Really? What about your grandmother? She was a nurse, a really skilled one. I almost never went to the doctor when I was living with them. Grandma can handle anything short of major surgery. Mr. Corelli. A thin man with ramrod straight posture steps into our path as we approach the table. With a noticeable British accent, he announces, "Your food is ready." Excellent, thank you. Marcus glances at me. Emma, this is Joffrey, my butler. Joffrey, this is Emma, my guest. I manage a smile despite the sudden acceleration of my pulse. I caught that moment of hesitation before Marcus said guest. The split second of indecision that must be as rare for him as a lobster dinner is for me. Had he been about to say something else? My date? My friend, maybe? There's no way he was going to say my girlfriend. It's a pleasure, Joffrey says, inclining his head. Now, please, have a seat. I will bring out the food. He hurries away and Marcus leads me to the table, which is set with 2 straw mats topped with square white plates, sleek modern glasses, and gleaming utensils next to white cloth napkins. In the middle is a carafe of water infused with lemon, mint, and cucumber, and next to it is what looks like fresh squeezed orange juice, along with a pitcher of dark green liquid. Marcus pulls out a chair for me, and I sit down, once again feeling overwhelmed. Not only does this brunch seem fancier than at any restaurant, but I'm still wearing a robe. Not that having my own clothes would have helped. I'm pretty sure a single fork here costs more than my entire outfit. The worst part is that I can't pay for my portion of this meal, unless I offer to cover half of one morning's worth of Joffrey's salary, along with the cost of the ingredients. And even I know that's ridiculous. My best bet is to reciprocate by making Marcus a meal at my place one of these days. But after seeing the way he lives, the idea of asking him over to my tiny studio makes me cringe. I might as well ask Queen Elizabeth, the monarch, not my cat, to have dinner in a closet. Water, orange juice, or green juice? Marcus asks, and I force a smile to my lips. Green juice, please. There's no need for him to know I've never tried the overpriced health elixir before, or that all of this is making me feel like a fish out of water. Marcus pours the green liquid into my glass, and I take a sip. It's surprisingly good, tart and refreshing instead of bitter. I can taste the Granny Smith apple underneath the grassy flavor of the greens, and I down the rest of the glass in a few long gulps. More, Marcus adds wryly, and I nod because why not? It's a delicious way to meet my weekly quota of fruits and vegetables in one morning. As I'm sipping on the refill, Joffrey comes out with a silver-domed tray. Setting it on the table, he removes the dome, revealing 2 plates with a perfectly folded omelet on each, along with 2 little bowls of cut-up fruit and a basket of fluffy biscuits. The omelets are covered with some kind of creamy orange sauce and topped with a sprig of parsley, and it all smells absolutely scrumptious. Definitely fancier than any restaurant brunch I've had. Shiitake and oyster mushroom omelet with crab and lobster, topped with spicy gorgonzola sauce, Joffrey announces, putting one plate in front of me and the other in front of Marcus. He then does the same thing with the fruit bowls and puts the biscuit basket between us, adding a pair of tongs for easy grabbing. Thank you, Joffrey. It looks amazing, Marcus says, and I echo his sentiment, barely able to swallow the saliva pooling in my mouth. How is it possible that I was thinking of lobster only a few minutes earlier, and now there's a lobster omelet in front of me? No, scratch that. A shiitake and oyster mushroom omelet with crab and lobster. As in, all the foods I love and can rarely afford in one insane dish. The butler inclines his head and disappears back into the kitchen, and I dig into the omelet, my fork trembling from eagerness. Holy cow. I nearly orgasm on the spot as the spicy richness of the gorgonzola sauce touches my tongue, followed by the delicious texture of the seafood chunks wrapped in mushroom-flavored egg. I must have moaned out loud and closed my eyes because when I open them, I find Marcus staring at me like I've just stripped naked. His face is tightly drawn, his eyes burning with savage hunger as his omelet sits untouched in front of him. "Sorry about that," I mumble, my face turning hot as I realize I must have looked like I was literally having an orgasm. Again. At this rate, he's going to think I have a food fetish. It's just really, really good. There are a few beats of silence, moments so thick with tension I can almost taste it in the air. Then Marcus removes his hand from my knee, and I hear the scrape of knife and fork against plate. "You're right. This is delicious." His voice is back to normal, his tone conversational, but I'm not fooled. As soon as we're done with this meal, we're heading back into the bedroom. And damn if the thought doesn't make me soaking wet.
Chapter 39. Marcus. I mean it this time. I have to go home. It's already past 4. My cats must be starving, the poor darlings. Plus, it's laundry day. Evading my outstretched hand, Emma rolls off the bed and sprints for the pile of clothes on the chair in the corner. Her clean, neatly folded clothes that Joffrey brought upstairs while we were eating. Grabbing them, she disappears into the bathroom, and I sit up in bed, biting back a frustrated curse. It's not that I want to fuck her again. Well, I do, my dick having decided I'm 15 again. It's that I hate the idea of her leaving. That, along with my incessant hunger for her soft curves, is why I've been dragging her back to bed and mercilessly fucking her each time she's tried to go home after brunch. Damn her cats. I need her more than they do. It's borderline pathological, I know. But now that I've got her in my lair, I want to keep her here. The same primitive instincts that demanded I claim her, caveman style, now make me want to chain her to my bed and throw away the key. Or, failing that, handcuff her to me. In part, it's because I'm still pissed about Florida, both the fact that she's going and that she doesn't want me there. It means I won't see her from Wednesday until Sunday, and the knowledge eats at me, sharpening my craving until it feels like a blade carving through my guts. I want her with a violence that scares me, and it doesn't seem to be abating in the least. If my desire for her were purely sexual, I could have dealt with it. Nobody's ever died of blue balls, as far as I can tell. But I'm starting to want her, all of her, not just her delicious little body. Falling asleep with Emma in my arms last night had given me pleasure unlike any other, a feeling of bone-deep contentment, a certainty that all is well in my world. I can't remember the last time I felt that way. Maybe I never have. When I was a child, we were always a few days from eviction, one jar of mayo from an empty fridge. I never knew what time my drunk mother would stumble in at night and what kind of asshole she'd bring with her. Even when I got older and used the earnings from my part-time jobs to smooth over the sharpest edges of our below-the-poverty-line existence, fear of the uncertain future never went away. It stayed with me as I made my first million, then my first billion. It's still with me when I close my eyes and fall asleep at night. Except last night. Last night, I felt safe. Like the small, warm body in my arms was all I needed. All I would ever need. Like I was home at last. And now she wants to leave. Fuck that. I'm not ready to let her go. "I'm coming with you," I announce when she emerges from the bathroom fully dressed. And ignoring her wide-eyed look of shock, I get up and walk over to my closet to grab some clothes of my own.
Chapter 40. Emma. I don't understand what's happening. Why I'm in Marcus's car, with him in the back seat next to me, heading over to my apartment. "Don't you have to work?" I try again. "I thought you Wallstreet types worked on the weekends." He lifts his broad shoulders in a shrug. "It can wait. I'm my own boss. I give up, because there's apparently no polite way to ask a man why he's so determined to watch you do laundry and cuddle with your cats, especially if that man is Marcus. Once he sets his mind on something, there's no stopping him. I've learned that the hard way. And I do mean hard. I'm very sore from all the fucking. A tendril of heat licks at me at the recollection of how I got that way, and I sneak a glance at the cause of that soreness, who's watching me with a darkly intent stare. Holy shit, does he want sex again? Is that why he's not letting me leave his side? That must be it. I can't imagine why else he'd come to my shoebox studio in Brooklyn instead of staying in his luxurious penthouse. I certainly wouldn't leave that place if I were him. I'm about to inform him that I can't have sex for at least a few hours when my phone dings with an incoming text. It's from Kendall. Well, any more gifts from Mr. Wallstreet? Then a second one. Did you text him a thank you like I told you? Oh, crap. Kendall has no clue that we're miles beyond thank you texts, and why would she? I haven't had a free minute to call her since Marcus ambushed me last night with the books and the sex and the dinner date and then more sex and... Who's that? Marcus asks, and I look up, my face flushing betrayingly. No one. I mean, it's just my friend, Kendall, you know? That is, of course, you don't know, you've never met her, but she's my best friend from college and... I stop realizing I'm babbling. In any case, she's the one who texted me. What about? Is he serious? He certainly looks serious, his thick eyebrows arched expectantly, as if it's a given that I'll answer. Just something random. I'm too flustered to come up with any kind of clever lie. Like I said, it's nothing. My phone dings with a third text, and I can't help glancing at the screen. Ems! Text him, I mean it. Nothing? Really? Let me see. And before I can react, Marcus plucks the phone from my grasp, his eyes skimming over the texts with lightning speed. No! What are you doing? I gasp in horror, but it's too late. A big grin is already spreading over his lean, hard face. So Kendall knows about me, does she? My cheeks burning like Florida asphalt in July, I attempt to snatch the phone back, but he transfers it to his other hand, holding it out of my reach. Yes, she does. So what? I snap, sitting back empty-handed. To get the phone back, I'd have to lean over his lap, and I'm not about to stoop to that indignity. I didn't sign any kind of NDA. NDA? He's laughing now, white teeth flashing and cheeks bisected by those sexy grooves. What have you been reading, kitten? 50 Shades? My flush impossibly intensifies, and I attempt to grab the phone again, to no avail. He holds me off with one arm, still laughing, and I see his other hand's thumb land on the little phone icon next to Kendall's name. Oh my God, you just dialed her! Hang up! I make another futile grab for the phone. Marcus, hang up right now! He glances at the phone just as Kendall's tinny voice says from the speaker, Hello? Emma, is that you? I expect him to hang up then, or at least hand the phone over to me, but I underestimated his assholeness. Lifting the phone to his ear, he says with a wicked smile, No, sorry, Kendall. This is Marcus with Emma's phone. There's a moment of dead silence, during which I try to decide if I should brain him or set him on fire, and then an incredulous, What? Give it to me, I hiss, all but sprawling across his lap to reach the phone. And this time he lets me have it, mischief dancing in his eyes as I scramble back to my seat, clutching my prize. Are you doing with Emma's phone? Kendall is asking warily as I lift the phone to my ear. It's me, hi. Sorry about that. Marcus was just being a dick. I glare at him as I say it, but instead of taking offense, he starts laughing again, his powerful shoulders shaking. Are you talking about Marcus Corelli? Kendall sounds as if I've just blasphemed about the Pope and the Vatican. The Marcus Corelli? He's with you right now? Yep. I pointedly turn my back to him. We're in a car heading to Brooklyn. Wait, what? From where? Start from the beginning, Kendall demands, and I grit my teeth, throwing Marcus a fuming look over my shoulder. He's already stopped laughing, but he's still grinning, the bastard. I can't really talk right now, I tell Kendall, looking away lest I smack him with the phone. I'll call you later, okay? Wait, just tell me if you two have hooked up. Kendall, just a yes or no, quickly. Yes, okay? It's a yes. I hang up and turn to meet Marcus's amused, and not the least bit apologetic, gaze. My temper boils over. You had no right to do that. That is my phone and my friend and… You're right. He catches the hand I'm waving around, the one still clutching the phone. Bringing it to his lips, he kisses the knuckles reverently. I shouldn't have done it, kitten. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, you're very cute when you're angry. I've thought so from our very first meeting. Oh, we're doing cliches now, are we? What's next? You knew I was the one from the moment you laid eyes on me? To my relief, I still sound pissed, rather than all gooey and melty like my insides. The traitors have turned to mush at the tender gesture and the bullshit compliment. No, Marcus says, all traces of amusement gone. I didn't. Ouch. I blink and try to smile, as if all meltiness didn't disappear in an instant, my stomach shriveling into a hard ball instead. Obviously, I'm not the one for him. That would be Emmeline or someone like her. But did he have to be so blunt about it? I was using that as an example of a cliché, not fishing for a proposal. Still, something about my reaction must have given me away because Marcus's face darkens, his hand tightening around mine. Emma, what I meant was, just don't do it again. I somehow managed to sound playful, the smile actually appearing on my lips. This is my phone. I yank my hand out of his hold, and you don't get to just grab it and look at my messages, no matter how many cliched compliments you give me afterward. What about non-cliched ones? He asks huskily, the glimmer of amusement returning to his gaze. I must be a better actress than I thought. Can I grab it then? No, I say with exaggerated firmness, as if talking to a child or a dog. My phone is off limits. I make a show of stuffing it into my purse and zipping it up for emphasis. He sticks out his lower lip in a pout, just like a disappointed toddler would, and I can't help laughing for real, even as some of the melting feeling returns, along with the lingering hurt from his words. Because in that pout, as comical as he meant it to be, I see the vulnerable little boy he had been once, and I can't help wishing for the impossible. Can't help wanting this, us, to be real.
Chapter 41. Marcus. I glare at the cat on the bed, and he responds with a contemptuous look, the tip of his tail swishing back and forth in a silent threat. That's right, my eyes tell him. I fucked her all night long, and I will do it again and again. You better get used to it. She's mine now. I will destroy you, the slitted green gaze replies. You're going to die a slow and painful death under my paws, just like a mouse. Not that I've ever seen a real mouse, but still, if I ever get my paws on one, it's fucked. And so are you. Puffs, get off the clean laundry, Emma says, reappearing from the bathroom, and I watch with grim satisfaction as she shoos the furry creature off the clothes she's folding on the bed, a task I'm helping her with. She was surprised when I offered, but she shouldn't have been. There's no way I would pass up a chance to get my hands on her panties. Speaking of which, she needs new ones, along with new clothes in general. Almost everything she owns is worn out or of poor quality. My hands practically itch to pick up my phone and place an order at Saks, but I resist the urge. She won't accept clothes from me yet, and I have bigger battles to fight, like getting her to come back to my place tonight. Here, I got this, she says, grabbing a stack of folded t-shirts from me. She hurries over to the closet and stuffs the clothes inside, then comes back to grab a pile of socks. I let her put away all the folded things while I sort her bras, and before long, we're done with all the laundry. Wow, that was quick, Emma says, looking around like she expects a stray sock to jump out at her. I can't believe we got it done so fast. When I do it alone, it takes me hours. What can I say? I'm good with my hands, I say with a straight face, and she gives me a dimpled grin. You are. Thank you for helping. It was my pleasure. I mean it, too, and not just because I got to handle her underwear without looking like a pervert. She doesn't have a washer and dryer in her studio, and the laundromat she uses is 3 long blocks away. I have no idea how she's always dragged her stuff there on her own, but I'm glad I was here to carry the heavy sack for her today. I'll have to make sure I'm always with her when she does laundry going forward, or better yet, have Joffrey do it for her, at my place, where I want her to be all the time. I'm not quite ready to put a label on that desire yet, but it's definitely there, and the more I look around her cramped studio, the stronger it gets. I don't want her here. She belongs at home with me. Are you hungry? I ask when she picks up a cat, the mid-sized one, Cotton Ball, and sits down on the bed to stroke him. We could grab dinner around here before heading back or go someplace in Manhattan. Alternatively, if you're not in the mood to eat out, I can ask Joffrey to prep us something. She blinks up at me as the smallest cat, Queen Elizabeth, jumps up on the bed and joins her purring brother on Emma's lap. Heading back? As in, to your place? The two of us? Of course. This bed is too small for us both, don't you think? Not to mention overrun with cats, the third of which joins her as I speak. You can bring an overnight bag if you'd like, so you don't need to wait for Joffrey to do laundry in the morning. Maybe also leave the cats extra food so we don't have to come back here tomorrow at all. You can go to work straight from my place on Monday. I'll have Wilson drive you there. Her eyes widen more with every word coming out of my mouth, and I fucking know, I'm giving away my hand. But it's too late to try to be smooth and subtle. Not that I've ever been able to achieve that with her. When it comes to Emma, my instincts are as primitive as it gets. My need to claim her too powerful to deny. I want her in my home, at my side, and I can't pretend otherwise. I don't think I can, she swallows. I can't leave my cats alone for that long. She's petting the furry beasts as she says this, and I again feel a strange stab of jealousy. I want her touching me, worrying about me. Fine, I say tightly, pushing down the irrational desire. Then you'll come back here tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be fine until then. You fed them, changed their litter, played with them. What more do they need? 3 pairs of green eyes narrow at me, as if the cats know what I'm saying, and Emma looks down at them, stroking each one in turn. Come here, she says softly, looking up. Sit next to me. I frown in confusion, but approach the bed. Sit. She glances at the spot to the right of her. I comply gingerly, not wanting to squash a tail or a paw. I may not like her pets, but I don't want to hurt them. Here. She picks up Cotton Ball and places him on my lap. Stroke him like this. She demonstrates with her own hand, her short, neatly trimmed nails lightly scratching at the fur as she runs her palm from the top of his head to the start of his tail. I stare at the cat, unable to believe he hasn't jumped away or scratched me. Instead, he's staring up at me, as if wanting to see what I'll do. Cautiously, I touch him like Emma showed me, running my hand over his back. The fur is ridiculously soft, and I can feel his animal warmth underneath. It's like having a heating pad on my lap, only an extremely fluffy one. I try to recall if I've ever held a cat like this, but I'm drawing a blank. Certainly, there were no pets in my childhood, unless I count the stray cats that raided the garbage bins at the apartment complex where we lived when I was 6. For a couple of months, I gave them whatever scraps I could find in our kitchen, but then we got evicted, and I never saw the cats again. In any case, they'd been feral, too frightened of people to let me pet them. Afterward, there was a neighbor's dog, a little one, some kind of mutt. He was friendly, and I definitely petted him and played with him a bunch of times. In fact, I liked him so much, I asked my mother to get a puppy for my 7th birthday. She laughed and promptly puked into the half-cooked pasta that was supposed to be our dinner, and that was that. I realized soon after what a huge responsibility a puppy would be, requiring food and money we couldn't afford to spare, and I stopped wanting one. I also stopped feeding stray cats. He likes you. Emma's dimples appear as she beams at me, and to my shock, I realize the creature on my lap is purring, loudly. His entire body is vibrating with it, his eyes shut in apparent bliss. Okay then, I guess I have not held a cat before, because this is definitely a memorable experience. I must have petted at least one cat before this. I vaguely recall a skittish Siamese at a friend's house in college, but this is something else entirely. This animal is trusting me. According to Emma, he likes me. Carefully, I intensify the pressure, stroking him more firmly, and the purr gets louder, the vibration increasing until I feel like I'm holding a miniature chainsaw. The cat is clearly enjoying what I'm doing, and I can't deny that it feels good to run my palm over his soft fur. Between the purr and the warmth, the sensation is strangely soothing, almost hypnotic. My phone buzzes in my pocket, but I ignore it, strangely reluctant to let work intrude. Love. My head snaps up, my entire body locking up as I stare at Emma. What did you just say? You asked what more they need, she says quietly, her gray eyes on my face as she continues stroking the two pets on her lap. And I'm telling you that they need love, attention, caring, same as people. Right, of course. She's talking about the cats, not us. So I take it you're not coming home with me, I say with forced lightness, and she shakes her head. I want to, but I can't. I'm sorry, Marcus. I can't leave them alone 2 nights in a row, especially since I'm going to Florida on Wednesday. My landlady is going to look after them, but they'll still be traumatized by my absence. She pauses, then adds hesitantly, Maybe you can stay here with me? All right. The words escape my mouth before I consciously make the decision. In that case, I will. And as the cat on my lap purrs louder, I take my phone from my pocket and text Joffrey that I won't be home for breakfast.
Chapter 42. Emma. All evening long, I felt the urge to pinch myself to make sure I'm awake, because what are the odds that my billionaire hookup would accompany me to Brooklyn, help me with my laundry, and agree to spend the night in my tiny studio before having a pizza dinner at Papa Mario's with me? Next to none, I would have said before today. Yet here we are, stuffed full of pizza, with me doing my best to make my old sheets look semi-decent, and cat hair free, by smoothing them with my palms while Marcus showers in my tiny bathroom before joining me in this very bed. My phone dings with incoming texts, then starts ringing, and when I grab it, I'm not the least bit surprised to see that it's Kendall. Well, she bursts out the moment I pick up. You never called back. What's going on with you and Mr. Billions? Spill. Now. I glance at the bathroom door, but it's closed and the water is still running. I don't have a lot of time, I say in a low voice. Marcus will come out of the shower any minute, so just listen and don't interrupt, okay? Shower? Where? Holy fuck, Ems. Kendall. Okay, I'll shut up. Go on, tell me everything. And so I do, starting with the books he sent me Friday night and concluding with our current situation. The only part I leave out is the conversation with my grandparents, because I don't want Kendall to get the wrong idea. To her, meeting family is such a big deal, she'll be convinced we're about to get married. So, let me get this straight. My friend sounds like she's on the verge of an aneurysm anyway. The two of you have spent the past 24 hours together, literally the entire 24 hours, and he wants to stay at your place overnight? Like he's actually willing to sleep in your tiny coffin of a bed? It's a regular twin-sized whatever. I'm sure his bedroom is fit for a modern-day prince. Well, oh my god. I'm so fucking jealous of you right now, you sneaky little bitch. Tell me he at least has a small dick. It is small, right? Like all crooked and shriveled up and stuff. I fight a hysterical giggle. No, sorry. He's actually... I stop because there's no way I'm going there, not even with Kendall. Oh, shut the fuck up. Next you'll be telling me he's already given you half a dozen orgasms. Well, over a dozen, but who's counting? I try to think of a suitably discreet answer, but my silence must speak for itself, because Kendall lets out a groan and I hear banging sounds in the background. "You okay?" I ask, concerned. "Fine." Her voice is weirdly muffled. "Just beating my head against the wall for not listening to Janie and signing up for the dating app with you. Maybe I, too, would now be planning summers in the Hamptons and Christmas vacations in the Alps." I roll my eyes. "Premature much? We've just started whatever this is. Besides, I'm sure he'll get bored of me soon and proceed with his plan to marry some gorgeous socialite. We're just having fun, like you told me to. And no, before you ask, I'm not going to parlay this into a publishing industry job." "That's your prerogative, as long as you're parlaying it into multiple orgasms, which it sounds like you are. But seriously, Ems, you are so wrong about his intentions. You haven't played the dating game much, so you might not realize this, but a guy wanting to spend his entire weekend with you after he's fucked you, that's rarer than billionaires in Bay Ridge. And staying at your place overnight because you don't want to leave your cats? You might as well expect a proposal next week. He's into you, big time. Mark my words. Before long, I have to go." I hiss into the phone, my heartbeat jumping as the sound of running water stops. "He's coming out of the shower. Talk later, okay?" "You got it. Have fun with Mr. Magic Dick." And on that lewd note, she hangs up, leaving me standing there, flushed and flustered. And hopeful. Much too hopeful. So hopeful it's almost a given that I'm going to get badly hurt. Chapter 43. Emma. I wake with a shiver as warm lips touch my nape, their softness contrasting with the scorching heat of mint-scented breath and the roughness of the morning stubble rasping across my skin, and he swishes his tail and stalks off, leaving his siblings to provide the proper dose of slut-shaming. "They're not used to you having sex in front of them, are they?" Marcus says dryly, and I laugh, realizing I'm not the only one who's feeling the weight of feline judgment this morning. "They're not," I admit, grinning. "In fact, this may be only their second exposure to human sex, the first being Friday night." "Good. I'm glad." His voice turns husky as he sets his empty bowl on the counter. "I wouldn't want them traumatized by seeing it done improperly." I feel another blush coming on, but I raise my eyebrows, determined to play it cool. "Who says it would have been done improperly? I've had good sex before. Or what I thought was good sex before I met Marcus, but I'm not about to inflate his ego any further. It already matches the size of his magic appendage." "Oh, really?" His blue eyes narrow. "Do tell." I set my bowl down and cross my arms over my chest. "You first." Not that I actually want to know about all the hundreds of beautiful women he's slept with, but I'm not talking about my woefully short sexual history without making him squirm at least a little. To my surprise, he doesn't laugh off my demand or reply with something cocky, nor does he look the least bit uncomfortable with the topic. "Since losing my virginity at 15, I've had sex with a number of female partners," he says calmly, picking up his coffee. "Mostly in the context of casual relationships, but there have been some one-night stands as well. My most serious relationship to date was in college, where I dated the same girl for 2.5 years. We parted ways upon graduation, as I was moving back to New York and she wanted to live in LA. After that, I was too focused on my career to devote much time to dating, so my subsequent relationships were superficial and short-lived, ranging from a couple of weeks to a couple of months." He takes a sip of coffee, then adds, eyes glittering, "And yes, in most cases the sex was good, though it couldn't have held a candle to this." My arms drop to my sides, and my heart, which has shrunk into a tiny pincushion from picturing him with other women, lurches into a startled gallop. "It couldn't have?" "No." He sets his coffee down, his eyes burning into me. "Believe it or not, I don't normally want to fuck 5 times a day." "Oh." My throat goes dry as he steps toward me. I see." "What about you?" He places his hands on the counter on either side of me, caging me with his large body. Holding my gaze, he says softly, "Tell me about your sexcapades, kitten." I swallow, feeling uncomfortably like captured prey. Um, there haven't been all that many, really. Just a couple. One boyfriend in college, one in high school, and a bunch more dates that led nowhere. I've never been all that popular. I cringe internally at how pathetic that sounds, but Marcus's eyes narrow again, his nostrils flaring as he leans in. "And they were good in bed, those two boyfriends of yours." There's something dark and dangerous in his voice, almost menacing. If I didn't know better, I would have thought him jealous. Regardless, I'm tempted to keep up the lie so I come across as less of a loser. But when I open my mouth, the truth comes out instead. No, they weren't, I admit, holding his gaze. Arthur was 17 and didn't know what he was doing. And Jim was okay, I guess. But it wasn't like this with him. Not like it is with you and me. Contrary to my expectations, the confession doesn't appease Marcus. If anything, his face darkens further. Dipping his head so that his lips brush my ear, he says in a low, rough voice, "I'm glad you weren't popular, kitten. Because if you were, I'd have a lot of fucking Jims and Arthurs to destroy." And as I'm processing that bizarre declaration, he hoists me up onto the counter and takes my mouth in a deep, darkly possessive kiss.
Chapter 44. Marcus. No, no more. I'm so sore, Emma groans, rolling off the bed when I cup her breast, and I reluctantly let her go. I was going to be a gentleman and keep my hands off her until tonight. I really was. She's wisely decided to remove the temptation by disappearing into the bathroom, so I get up and get dressed, ignoring the contemptuous stares from the cats. Well, two of the cats. Cotton Ball seems to have warmed up to me a bit, and his green gaze is merely chiding. Like his siblings, he thinks I'm a sex-crazed beast. "Come here, buddy," I mutter, sitting down on the one and only chair and patting my knee when Emma takes her sweet time in the bathroom. "I need a distraction so I don't attack your pretty owner again." The cat eyes me dubiously, then saunters over and jumps onto my lap. I shake my head and start petting him, still amazed that he trusts me to hold him. Aren't animals supposed to be able to tell when people like them? Not that I dislike this particular cat. He seems to be nicer than most. By the time Emma comes out of the bathroom dressed in her short pink robe, Cotton Ball is purring loud enough to wake the neighborhood, and I can't deny that I'm enjoying myself. In theory, I should be hating all of this. The cats, the dingy apartment, the lumpy bed that's half a foot too short for me. But instead, I feel good. Much too good considering how little sleep I got last night and how much work is likely waiting for me at the office. Normally, I'd spend a good portion of my weekend poring over my analysts' reports and reviewing our biggest positions. But all I've done over the past 2 days is spend time with Emma. And it's all I want to do. I've barely checked my email today. In fact, this may be the most relaxing Sunday I've had since grade school. I started managing money, mine and my classmates in college, and I haven't been this calm since. As if on cue, my phone starts buzzing in my pocket. For a moment, I'm tempted to let it go to voicemail, but then my sense of responsibility kicks in. There are billions of dollars and hundreds of employees' jobs on the line. I can't ignore that just because I want to spend the rest of the day with Emma. Setting the purring cat on the floor, I pull out the phone. Sure enough, it's Jared, who only calls me on the weekends in case of major fuck-ups. "What?" I bark, my adrenaline already surging. I don't have a good feeling about this. My CIO doesn't beat around the bush. It's bad. The municipals team just called me. Remember that high-risk bond we bought a couple of weeks back? Well, the municipality's capital raise just failed. Something about a local politician getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar. It's just hitting the news wires now. Fuck. I leap to my feet. How deep in the hole are we? Right now, 300 mil, but rumor is they're going to declare bankruptcy on Monday. thus rendering our entire $700 million investment worthless. Motherfucker. We're about to have our first down month this year, and right before Alpha Zone, too. Tell them to liquidate what they can, I order, my mind already scrambling for solutions. And call an emergency meeting of the PMs. We need actionable short-term ideas. On it, Jared replies and hangs up. Emma is now in front of me, a worried frown on her face as she gazes up at me. What's wrong? Did something happen at your fund? I nod, grabbing my coat from the back of the chair. A trade gone bad. I have to go into the office. I know I sound brusque, but I can't help it. We're about to lose $700 million, and I almost didn't pick up the phone, too caught up in her spell to think straight. Fuck, what am I talking about? I should have gone over the investment with a fine-toothed comb this Saturday, like I was planning to do before Emma ended up in my bed. My municipals PM is good, but I'm better at seeing the big picture. I might have spotted some red flag regarding the politician, and we could have liquidated yesterday before the news of the embezzlement hit. But no, I was with my red-headed obsession, and I couldn't tear myself away from her. In one short weekend, I've become so addicted to her that I've lost sight of what matters. Even now, knowing the fund is in trouble, a part of me wants to stay with Emma instead of rushing to the office, to fuck my worries into submission rather than dealing with the fallout of my mistake. I was wrong. She's not chocolate and Netflix. She's fucking heroin, and I'm dying for a hit. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry, she says, her gray gaze sympathetic, and even now I'm tempted to steal a kiss as I step around her on my way out. I'll call you later, I say curtly instead, and stride out, slamming the door shut before the cats can escape. I need to put some distance between me and Emma. I need to detox before I'm in too deep.
Chapter 45. Emma. He's gone so fast, it's as if I'd imagined him here. Only the rumpled sheets provide evidence of his recent presence. That and the persistent tenderness between my legs. Somehow, we still ended up having sex after breakfast, and now I'm really sore. So yeah, it's probably for the best that he left so abruptly. Well, not for the best. I feel bad that something went wrong at his fund, but I certainly shouldn't feel abandoned or anything. So what if he didn't kiss me goodbye? We're not boyfriend and girlfriend. He'll probably turn up when he's done at the office, and we'll have a ridiculous amount of sex again. That is, assuming he still wants me. There's no guarantee of that. The thought is oddly depressing. Just the possibility of never seeing Marcus again makes my chest feel tight and heavy, like it's being squeezed in a vice. He'll be back, right? I ask Queen Elizabeth, and she gives me the cat equivalent of a shrug, a blank stare followed by a tiny tail swish. I sigh and walk over to my desk. I'm imagining this, I'm sure. But for a moment there, it seemed as if Marcus had been upset with me, as if I'd done something wrong. But that's silly. He got bad news from work, that's all. Whatever's going on at his fund has nothing to do with me. The only thing I can think of as far as something I could have done is telling him I'm too sore to have even more sex. Wait a sec. Is that it? Did I offend him by refusing his advances? No, that doesn't seem right. Marcus is too confident, too much of a man to have such a fragile ego. It is, however, feasible that with the possibility of more sex off the table, he didn't see the point in staying. But no, there was that phone call. He didn't make it up. I saw his face. The news he got really was bad. There might be hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars on the line, tens of millions for all I know. It's ridiculous to imagine he'd even be thinking about me during such a critical time. Most likely, he seemed short because he was worried about the bad trade. In any case, he said he'll call later, so I'm sure I'll hear from him tonight. Or if not tonight, tomorrow. In the meantime, I should use this opportunity to catch up on my editing. I'm already a weekend behind schedule as it is.
Chapter 46. Marcus. Bleary-eyed, I scrub my palm over my face and glance at the clock. 3:05 a.m. We've been at it for over 12 hours. Getting up, I toss my disposable coffee cup into the trash and look around the glass-walled conference room. Jared and all of my portfolio managers are here, sitting around the long rectangular table surrounded by piles of reports. Like me, they've been going over the investment ideas the analysts have been bringing in, trying to figure out how we can make up a $700 million loss during a holiday-shortened week. If we're still in the hole come November 30th, we'll lock in this month's underperformance, and it's going to be a permanent black mark on the fund's record, not to mention a source of embarrassment at the upcoming Alpha Zone conference. So far, there are a number of promising short-term ideas, but nothing big enough to plug a $700 million hole. And odds are, we're not going to find that gem tonight. I slap my palm on the table, and everyone snaps to attention. Enough, I say. Everyone, go home. We'll resume this first thing in the morning. I don't want their judgment compromised by lack of sleep. It's bad enough I've let my dick do my thinking for me. See you back here at 7, Jared says, walking by me, and I nod. It wouldn't hurt to catch up with my CIO before the PMs pile in. He's only 27, but he has a knack for seeing the big picture, same as I do. One day soon, he's going to strike out on his own, but until then, I've got his clever brain to bounce ideas off of. Everyone files out of the conference room, and I follow, a tension headache squeezing my temples as I close the door behind us. On the main floor, the analysts are hunched over their computers, crunching numbers and sorting through data, searching for something to bring to their PMs. I'm tempted to send them home, too, but since they don't make the decisions, being clear-headed is less crucial for them. I decide to leave it up to the individual PMs and head out, my headache worsening with every step I take. It takes less than 20 minutes to get home. Traffic is non-existent at this hour, and as I fall into bed, my thoughts turn to Emma for the 50th time this night. She's probably long asleep by now. I can picture her curled up with her cats in her short, narrow bed, her wild red curls spread over the pillow, and her lush little body barely covered by the pair of panties and a tank top that she wears in place of pajamas. Even with the headache beating at me, the image tightens my groin and makes warmth curl in my chest. I'd give anything to hold her right now. Anything at all. My hand is already reaching for my phone when I realize what I'm doing. Swearing under my breath, I yank it back, furious with myself. This is the 10th time I've nearly called or texted her tonight, despite my resolution to do an Emma detox. No seeing her or thinking about her. That's the goal I've set for myself. And that means no calls or texts. I need to be in control of this addiction, to prove to myself that I can go without my fix for at least some time. That I can function at work and elsewhere, even with this obsession. Squeezing my eyes shut, I try to focus on the investment ideas, so that, as I sleep, my brain can process all the information I've crammed into it over the past 12 hours. It's often the best way to do it, to just step back and let the connections form on their own, without forcing the process. Yet as I'm drifting into sleep, it's not debt coverage ratios and volatility hedges that occupy my mind. It's her, Emma, the craving I can't erase.
Chapter 47. Emma. Marcus doesn't contact me for the rest of Sunday, but I don't worry about it much. After all, he's probably busy with his emergency. By Monday afternoon, however, I'm checking my phone every 5 minutes, afraid I somehow missed a call or a text. There's nothing now, not even a quick hey. At dinner time, my phone finally rings. I grab it eagerly, my pulse jumping in excitement. But it's only Kendall, undoubtedly calling to get all the juicy details about my hookup. Swallowing my disappointment, I start to accept the call, but at the last second, I send it to voicemail instead. I don't want to discuss Marcus with her, not until I know what's going on between us. Assuming anything is still going on, that is. I debate reaching out to him myself, sending a quick text to see how he's doing, but I decide against it. He might get annoyed that I'm bothering him in the middle of his emergency, or worse yet, he might not respond. and then I'll feel really awful. In any case, Marcus is not an insecure college freshman who needs to be prodded into contacting a girl he likes. The fact that I haven't heard from him means he doesn't want to talk to me. It's as simple as that. I spend Monday night tossing and turning, unable to get comfortable. Even with my cats next to me, my bed feels empty and cold. My blanket too thin to repel the winter chill seeping in through the poorly insulated window. My boss told me a major snowstorm is coming tomorrow night, and it feels like it, with the wind already kicking up and the temperature starting to plummet. I hope I can fly out on Wednesday. It would majorly suck if the airline canceled my flight. I finally drift off to sleep after 2, and when my alarm goes off at 7, I immediately reach for my phone. Still nothing. No calls, no texts. My stomach sinks, and the heavy tightness returns to my chest. It's possible that Marcus is still insanely busy at work, but texting something along the lines of, "Hey, thinking of you," would take less than 3 seconds. Unless, of course, he's not thinking of me at all, which is looking increasingly likely. He may have had his fill of sex with me and moved on, in which case I may never hear from him again. I try not to think about it, but by Tuesday afternoon, I can no longer dismiss the possibility. Maybe with another guy, a 2-day disappearance wouldn't have meant much, but Marcus has never played by the rules of modern courtship, complete with all the keep her guessing games. From the very beginning, he's been crystal clear about his intentions, going after what he wanted, me and his bed, with the same kind of intensity he must apply to all areas of his life. Daily dates, over-the-top gifts, meeting my grandparents on Skype, spending most of the weekend with me. He all but bulldozed his way into my body and my life. I didn't stand a chance once he set his sights on me, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe a challenge was what he wanted all along, and since I've ceased to be that, he's moved on to something, or someone, more exciting. Around 4, Kendall calls me again, and I again send her to voicemail. I can imagine how excited and bubbly she'll sound, wanting to hear all about my affair with the billionaire, and I simply don't feel up to dissecting Marcus's actions with her. Maybe it's because I got so little sleep last night, but I feel completely drained, as listless as if I were coming down with the flu. And maybe I am. Maybe that's what this squeezing pain in my chest is all about. "You should go home early," Mr. Smithson advises when I'm done shelving this week's shipment of romance novels. "It's already starting to snow." Oh, right. I almost forgot about the storm. I glance outside, where the howling wind is driving the first flurries into twister-like patterns. "I'll have to check on my flight." My boss grimaces. "It's not looking good, Emma. Sorry. They said on the news the airlines have already started announcing cancellations." Great. Just great. My eyes prickle and I have to turn away, blinking rapidly to keep the sudden influx of tears at bay. I didn't realize until now how much I've been anticipating this trip, both because I badly miss my grandparents and because I need to get away. I'm dying to escape from this awful weather, and the growing pain of the realization that I may never see Marcus again. I make it home before the worst of the snow starts. My neck snug and warm thanks to the scarf Marcus gifted me. I didn't want to put it on this morning, but the wind was too biting to ignore. Dispirited, I take it off and put it in a shoebox to keep it safe from Mr. Puffs. Then I hang up my coat and give the cats their dinner before trudging to my laptop to check on my flight. To my relief, my airline has only canceled tonight's and tomorrow morning's flights so far. They must expect the weather to clear up by tomorrow afternoon. Well, that's something, I tell the cats, returning to the kitchen to make my own dinner. I may be able to make it to Florida after all. Even to my own ears, however, my voice sounds flat, lacking all hint of excitement. Because as much as I want to see my grandparents and bask in the Florida sun, I know, deep in my bones I know, that none of it will chase away the spreading hollowness inside me, the growing conviction that Marcus and I are done.
Chapter 48. Marcus. By market close on Tuesday, the entire fund is punch-drunk with exhaustion, but we've netted $580 million through a combination of different trades, including a single-day $100 million bet on the Turkish lira. The transportation team has also cashed in on their airline short positions. They've been betting for weeks that the early-to-arrive winter weather would hit those stocks hard, and with the advent of tonight's storm, the rest of the market has finally agreed with them. All in all, barring any major disasters over the next couple of trading days, we may end up having a decent November. Not a great one, but good enough that we won't have to explain a down month to our investors. Or to the Alpha Zone attendees. Those assholes would have been merciless. It should feel good, snatching this victory from the jaws of defeat, but all I can think about is that I haven't seen Emma since Sunday. And tomorrow evening, she's leaving for Florida, which means I won't see her for the rest of the week. For the umpteenth time, I reach for my phone, only to pull back with a Herculean effort of will. The craving is still there, stronger than ever, and I know if I give in to it now, there will be no going back. This obsession will grow until it consumes me. Not that I'm planning to stay away from Emma much longer. For one thing, I'm not sure I'd be able to, but I also don't want to. As dangerous as my addiction to her is, it's the most exhilarating thing I've felt in years. I've never had this kind of sexual chemistry with a woman, have never wanted or enjoyed one so intensely. I want to wake up to her flame-bright curls on my pillow and see her dimpled smile when I come home from work, to bury my cock in her sweet, lush body every night and as many times throughout the day as she'll let me. I want her, and I'm going to have her. But first, I have to know that I'm stronger than my addiction. I have to make it through this week without her, to prove to myself that I'm in control.
Chapter 49. Emma. Since my flight is not until 6:25 p.m., I was planning to go into work for a half day on Wednesday. However, as I watch the howling fury of the storm through my narrow window, I know it's not happening. And most likely, neither is my flight. It's already midnight, but I can't sleep. My bed again uncomfortably cold and empty. And lumpy. Why have I never noticed before how lumpy my mattress is? It's nothing like the plush memory foam expanse of Marcus's king-sized bed. That had been so comfortable, so soft and warm, especially with his big, powerful body wrapped around me. No, stop. I squeeze my eyes shut to keep out the memories, but they flood in anyway, adding to the hollow pain in my chest. I miss him. I really, truly miss him. We'd only spent 2 nights together, but it had felt more like a month, like a dozen dates crammed into one life-altering, amazing weekend. I keep picturing his eyes, his smile, his laugh, the quiet amazement on his face when I put Cotton Ball on his lap. He'd handled the cat as carefully as a newborn baby, his big hands extraordinarily gentle on his fur. Watching him, I'd felt my heart swell and break a little, a fissure opening to let him in. God, why had he done this to me? Why go after me so hard, make me think there could be something real between us, only to dump me so cruelly? I expected it, of course, told myself it was bound to happen, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. If anything, I feel extra stupid. I shouldn't have agreed to see him when he sent me those gifts. No, scratch that. I shouldn't have agreed to go out with him in the first place. All along, I'd known I was playing with fire, and I did it anyway. I let him leave a third-degree burn on my heart. The storm outside now seems more like a hurricane, the wind roaring and the snow piling up by my only window to block out what little light from the street lamps was seeping in. And as I stare into the darkness, my eyes burning with unshed tears, I make myself a promise. I'm never going to date a man out of my league again.
Chapter 50. Marcus. The storm is still raging outside when my alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m., so I send an email directing everyone at the fund to work from home, and then I get up to do the same. Joffrey has the day off, but he prepped today's meals in advance, and it takes mere minutes to warm the quiche he made and down it with a cup of coffee before heading into my home office. As I answer emails and go over research reports, my thoughts turn to Emma again. They said on the news some areas of Queens and Brooklyn have lost power. Could that have happened in her neighborhood? In general, how is she faring in her basement studio? Something like a foot of snow has already fallen, enough to block that just above the ground window in her apartment. Could she be stuck there in the dark, without electricity and heat? No, that's ridiculous. She's in Brooklyn, not some shack in the mountains, and it's an early winter storm, not Armageddon. I'm sure she's fine. She's most likely asleep, enjoying an impromptu day off like most of the city. Or if she's awake, she might be packing for her flight to Florida tonight. Speaking of which, I pull out my phone and check her flight status like I've been doing every couple of hours since the storm hit. Still not canceled. Fuck. I'm not planning to see her this week, so I don't know why that bothers me, but it does. Maybe it's because I don't want her to fly in this weather. The snow is supposed to stop by noon, but ice on the plane's wings might be a problem for a while. Not that the airlines will fly if they don't think it's safe, but still. I don't want her getting on that plane. I really fucking don't. Realizing I'm obsessing over her again, I force my attention back to my computer screen and succeed at focusing for another couple of hours. Then I check on her flight again. Still on. Not even so much as a delay. Cursing, I get up and head into my home gym. I almost wish her flight number hadn't been in the investigator's report. If I didn't know it, I wouldn't be checking the airline app with the frequency of a schoolgirl refreshing her Instagram feed. Hopefully, a good, hard workout will clear my mind. With the insane workload of the past couple of days, I've been squeezing in quick runs before breakfast, but I haven't lifted weights since Saturday morning, when Emma lay sleeping in my bed. Fuck, I'm thinking about her again. With effort, I concentrate on my gym routine, pushing myself to the limit with each set. By the time I'm done, I'm drenched with sweat, my muscles shaking from exhaustion. But I'm still restless, my fingers twitching with the urge to reach for my phone and check on her flight. And maybe on her. Just a quick text to make sure she's okay in this storm. But no, that will seem odd since I haven't contacted her since Sunday. At this point, I owe her an explanation, if not an apology for my disappearance. Not that I'm going to tell her about the private battle I've been fighting. Work will suffice as an excuse. And to further smooth over any ruffled feathers, I'm going to ask her out to dinner that same night so we can pick up where we left off. All of this once she returns from Florida, naturally. I have to go at least a week without her to make sure that I can. To keep myself from doing something stupid, I dive into my pool and do 36 laps. Then I shower and head into my kitchen to grab lunch, noticing as I pass by the window that the snowfall has stopped and the snowplows are out in full force. That's good. Hopefully that means they'll restore power to those neighborhoods that lost it soon. Especially if Emma... Stop. Don't fucking think about her. Opening the fridge, I take out a tuna salad sandwich and sit down at the bar to eat it. As I chew, I glance at the microwave clock. 11:43 a.m. Emma is definitely awake by now. Damn it. I really can't control myself, can I? If I'm going to be spending that much time thinking about her, I might as well be with her. I pause, a half-eaten sandwich in my hand as I process that thought. Maybe I've been going about it all wrong. Maybe by trying not to think about Emma, I've been ensuring that she's at the forefront of my mind. It's like the classic white bear experiment in psych class. If you're told not to think about a white bear for a specific period of time, it's going to be the only thing occupying your thoughts. Yes, of course that's it. I should have seen it before. Emma is my white bear. By trying to resist my addiction to her, I've been making it infinitely worse. What I need is the complete opposite approach, to gorge myself on her. Not the way I went about it this weekend, to the point of neglecting my work, but in a more controlled manner. And I know exactly how to make it happen. I have to get her to move in with me. The solution is so glaringly obvious, I don't know why it hasn't occurred to me earlier. It's pretty much Economics 101. The problem right now is that Emma is a scarce resource. With her living in Brooklyn and not wanting to leave her cats alone for long, I simply can't get enough of her in the limited time we have together. No wonder I dropped the ball at work this past weekend. With her leaving for the trip and refusing to spend 2 nights in a row at my place, it was all but inevitable that I'd focus on her to the exclusion of everything else. Because that's how scarcity works. It makes the scarce item extra desirable, practically irresistible. Of course, living together is a major commitment, which is probably why I didn't think of this before. Actually, no, I did, in a way. My desire for her to be at my place all the time was likely my subconscious proposing this very solution. And the more I think about it, the more I like it. All the things I want, having her with me every night, seeing her as soon as I get home from work, are going to be so much easier if she's living in my penthouse. And commitment-wise, it's not as big of a deal for me as it is for most people. Partially, it's all the financial logistics that make living together a big step. A dating couple often has to lease or buy a new place, plus cover the moving expenses for one or both individuals. My penthouse, however, is big enough for a family, much less just the two of us, and I can cover Emma's moving costs with my pocket change. I can also lease another apartment for her if we end up going our separate ways in the future. The only downside, as far as I can see, is that the cats will move in too, but it's a small price to pay for such a neat solution. Yes, that's it, I decide, my heartbeat speeding up with dark anticipation. I'm going to finish my lunch, then call her and apologize for my disappearance. Afterward, as soon as the roads are cleared, I'll have Wilson drive me over to her place, and we'll talk before she leaves for her flight. Or maybe we'll do so as I give her a ride to the airport, in case she wants to get there early. The trickiest part will be convincing Emma to get over her financial hang-ups, but I have some ideas in that regard. If all goes well, by this time next week, she'll be safely ensconced in my lair, and I'll have exactly what I want. Emma, always within reach.
Chapter 51. Emma. My phone rings as I'm on the floor wrestling with the zipper of the suitcase. Thinking it's my grandparents, I grab the phone from the bed without looking and hit accept, only to freeze in disbelief, staring at the name on the screen. It's Marcus. He's calling me. Right now. Emma. His voice is rich and deep, audible even without the loudspeaker being on. Emma, kitten, can you hear me? Jumping to my feet, I end the call. My finger hits the red button on the screen without my conscious decision. Then, blood drumming in my temples, I stare at the phone in my hand. Did I hallucinate this, or did it really happen? The phone rings again, Marcus's name appearing on the screen. I hit decline again, my heart hammering so fast I can hardly think. What does he want? Why call me now after disappearing for days? I cried last night. At 3 a.m., when I still couldn't sleep, I cried because it hurt so much, knowing I'd never hear that voice again. And here he is calling me kitten as if nothing happened. Unless something did happen. Ice crystals form in my veins, my stomach twisting with an awful fear as it occurs to me that lack of interest is not the only reason someone might disappear. What if Marcus was in an accident? What if he's in the hospital, hurt so badly that he couldn't text or talk? I'm already pressing the button to call him back when his name pops up for the third time. Marcus? I sound semi-hysterical, but I can't help it. The thought of him injured, his big, strong body broken and covered by blood. Marcus, are you okay? Me? To my relief, he seems startled. Yes, of course. I'm working from home today, and there were no downed power lines in Manhattan. How about you? Do you have power and heat? For a moment, I have no idea what he's talking about, but then I recall the storm. Is he for real right now? I cried over him last night and we're talking about the fucking weather? So you're not hurt? I clarify, my voice tight. You weren't in the hospital or jail or otherwise unavoidably detained? No, of course not. There's now a wary note in his tone. But I did have an insane few days of work. I'll tell you all about it when I see you. Speaking of which, did you fix it? I interrupt. The bad trade, I mean. He audibly inhales. Yes, mostly. Listen, Emma, I'm sorry Okay, I'm happy for you. Goodbye. I hang up before my voice can break. I'm shaking from a surfeit of adrenaline, my intense relief that he's all right combining with hurt and growing fury. I wasn't angry at him before, only at myself for being foolish enough to play with fire. But I am now. It's one thing to barrel into my life, toy with my emotions, and disappear. Another to blithely expect a repeat of the same. The phone rings again, and I send it to voicemail with a jerky swipe across the screen. My pulse is racing so fast that I'm dizzy, my breathing fast and ragged as I throw the phone on the bed and start to pace. Why did he call? Why now? Why reappear just when I've become convinced he never would? Not that it matters. Whatever his reasons are, I just can't do this. Maybe other women can handle their lovers blowing hot and cold, but I can't. I'm not cut out for these games. Kendall was right. Marcus is not like the harmless boys I've dated. I've only known him for a short time, and he's already turned me inside out. I've never cried over either of my two boyfriends, nor, come to think of it, any other man. And that's the crux of it, I realize with a twisting pain. Marcus isn't like any other man I've known. With my exes, I'd been able to keep a certain distance, to give a portion of myself while holding back the rest. Not with him, though. In just a couple of dates and one mindfuck of a weekend, he decimated all my defenses, bulldozing straight into my heart. Even knowing that what we had was temporary, I fell for him, and I fell hard. The realization is like a wrecking ball into my stomach. I'm in love with him. With Marcus. That's why it's hurting so much. Shaken, I sit down on the bed, letting Cotton Ball climb into my lap as I stare blankly at my phone. I'm in love with Marcus. Not the handsome billionaire who gave me more orgasms than I can count, but the man who talked with naked gratitude about his second-grade teacher and answered my grandparents' questions with calm patience and respect. The man who told me that I'm nothing like my mother before sharing about his own painful past. My phone dings 3 times, the screen lighting up with incoming texts. What do you mean goodbye? Did you hang up on me? Emma, call me back right now. I can explain. Each word is like a blade puncturing my lungs, stealing my breath with every blow. Because I want to call him back. I want it more than anything. But if I do, if I give in again, the next time he walks away, I'll be left in pieces. And there will be a next time. Because I'm not Emmeline. I'm not the perfect wife candidate he needs.
Chapter 52. Marcus. I stare at my phone, my heart thudding with mingled chagrin and fury. She hung up on me, cut off my apology with a goodbye, and hung up. I call back in case it was a bad connection, but I get voicemail right away. Swearing under my breath, I fire off 3 texts and wait. Nothing. No moving dots to tell me she's in the process of responding, nothing to give any indication of her intent. Drawing on every ounce of my patience, I call again. Voicemail. Straight to fucking voicemail. She's either turned off her phone or she's rejecting my calls. The phone in my hand feels like a bomb ready to explode, or maybe that's the ball of fury in my chest. Twice she's done this to me now. Twice she's tried to make me go away. And the last time I went. Like a fucking idiot, I walked away, almost letting her ruin what we have. Well, not this time. She's not getting on the plane until she takes back that fucking goodbye. I've cooled down slightly by the time Wilson gets me through the freshly plowed streets to Brooklyn. In hindsight, maybe not contacting Emma since Sunday wasn't well done of me. It might have been only 3 days, but if she feels our connection as intensely as I do, it would have seemed infinitely longer. I'm still pissed she hung up on me, but I can understand it. In any case, as the car pulls up to the piles of snow left on the curb by the snowplow, I'm fully prepared to grovel. In addition to explaining just how crazy things were at work, I'm going to offer my most sincere apology and swear never to ghost her again. Not that I did, I just held off on contacting her for a bit, but that's how she must have perceived it. It's the only explanation for that out-of-nowhere goodbye. I'm wearing my waterproof boots, but snow gets in through the leg openings as I wade through the thigh-high piles on the way to Emma's door. Ignoring the icy wetness soaking my feet, I ring the doorbell. Nothing. No response. I give it a couple of minutes, then ring the doorbell again. Still nothing. Frustrated, I tromp over to the basement window around the corner. As expected, it's covered with snow, so I bend down and begin brushing it away with my bare hands. She's not freezing me out this easily. I won't let her. "Excuse me, what are you doing?" Startled by the shrill voice, I look up. A thin, older woman bundled in a puffy jacket is standing a few feet away, her gray-blonde perm forming a frizzy halo around her head. "Well," she demands with a scowl, "you're trespassing on my property. Explain yourself, or I'll call the police." She must be Emma's landlady. I stand up, brushing the snow off my palms on my coat. "Sorry about that. I'm looking for Emma. She's not answering the door for some reason." She blinks up at me, her frown disappearing. "You're looking for Emma?" "Yes. Do you know where she is? I can't reach her." "Oh, I see." She gives me a thorough once-over, her gaze lingering on my Italian coat as if trying to price it out. "Are you her boyfriend or something?" I reach deep for my patience. "Yes, we're dating. Do you know why she's not answering the door?" "Well, of course, dear. She left for the airport extra early, because of all the snow on the roads." Fuck. "When did she leave?" "I'm not sure. A half hour ago, 20 minutes maybe?" She cocks her head. "How long have you two been dating? I'm looking after her cats and Emma hasn't mentioned a boyfriend." "It's new," I interrupt, and hurry back to the car before the woman can launch into an interrogation. There's no time to waste. I have a stubborn redhead to catch before she gets on the plane. The traffic to the airport is horrendous, so bad that even Wilson's driving skills can't help. After 2.5 hours of inching forward a foot a minute, I finally see the cause of the jam, an accident in the left lane. As soon as we pass it, the traffic starts moving more briskly, but the damage is done. Emma's flight is due to start boarding in a half hour. Taking a deep breath to combat my frustration, I try calling her again. Voicemail. Same as the other 5 times I've tried it. I text her again. Nothing. No response. Fighting the urge to slam the phone against the window, I check the airline app. The fucking flight is on time, and the boarding starts in 23 minutes. Even if I were at the airport right now, I'd need longer than that to clear security. She's going to get on the plane with this huge fucking thing unresolved. Unless, without giving myself a chance to think twice, I call my transportation PM. "Richard, it's Corelli," I say as soon as he picks up. "I need you to get the CEO of United Airlines to call me right now. It's urgent." I know the portfolio manager is dying to ask why. Airline stocks are his province, but he understands the concept of urgency. 5 minutes later, I have United Airlines CEO on the phone. 6 minutes after that, when I hang up and check the app again, the flight is delayed by an hour. And I've promised to abstain from shorting UAL stock for 6 months to spare the CEO from explaining to his board why there's a giant hedge fund betting against them. The traffic clears further as we approach the airport, and I almost feel bad for holding up the plane by an hour. A half hour might have been plenty. When I enter the airport, however, I'm glad for the extra cushion. The place is overrun with frantic holiday travelers and pissed-off flyers stranded by the storm. It's so bad that by the time I get through the mile-long security line, first class and priority boarding for Emma's flight has already begun. I begin pushing my way through the crowd massed at the gate, searching for her bright hair. There, a small, curvy figure toward the front of the economy class line. Dressed in a pair of jeans and a white hoodie, she's holding a boarding pass in one hand and the handle of a small, raggedy-looking suitcase in the other. My pulse picks up, my skin prickling with savage heat. Fuck, I've missed her so much. I was an idiot to stay away. Feeling like a hunter honing in on his prey, I head directly for her. Other people must sense my grim determination because they get out of my way. She's staring straight ahead so she doesn't see me until I stop next to her. And by then, it's too late. Emma. I reach out to clasp her wrist, just as her gaze jumps to my face, gray eyes wide with shock. We need to talk. She's so stunned that she lets me pull her out of the crowd without protest. It's only when we're standing by the empty seats in the corner that she finds her tongue. What are you doing here? Her voice is higher pitched than normal. How did you get through security? I release her wrist to pull a boarding pass out of my pocket. I bought this on the drive over. It's for a flight to Omaha, the only one that had a seat available today. Stuffing it back in my pocket, I say, listen, we need to talk about... No, we don't. She tries to step around me, but I step in front of her, blocking her way. Yes, we do. Her face flushes with angry color. My flight is boarding. They've just started. You have time. Apparently realizing that I'm not going to budge, she lets go of her suitcase handle and folds her arms across her chest. Fine, talk. Despite the seriousness of the situation, I almost laugh at the scowl she directs at me. With all those curls puffing up, she really does look ridiculously cute when angry. Adorable, in fact. Of course, she also looks adorable when she smiles and when she blushes and when she's lying in my bed all warm and sleepy and satisfied. Fuck, I better focus. I'm sorry, Emma, I say as sincerely as I can. I should have called you earlier. I was working around the clock, but that's no excuse. I promise you, it won't happen again. I'm about to stop there, but some demon propels me forward, pulling the words out of my mouth. The truth of the matter is, I felt like we were getting too deep, too fast, and I seized on the emergency at the fund to put a little distance between us. But that was a mistake. I realize that now. I want us to get deeper. I take a breath. In fact, I was thinking that when you get back from this trip, I'd like you to move into my place. Her arms drop to her sides as shock wipes away all other expression on her face. You what? Her voice is barely above a whisper. I want you to move in, I repeat, clasping her small hands in each of mine. I want you to live with me. You and all 3 of your cats. I know it seems fast, but I've made a living taking calculated risks, and believe me, this one is worthwhile. If you want to keep your apartment for now, I won't object, but I want you with me every night. Her hands are icy in my grip as she stares up at me. Why? Because I want you, and you want me too. Isn't it obvious to her? The chemistry we have is rare, kitten. So rare that I've never felt it before. I want you all the time, to the point of obsession. I've fought against it, tried to resist, but it's useless. I want you, and I don't want the bridges and tunnels getting in the way of our time together. Move in with me, Emma. It makes so much sense. Out of the corner of my eye, I see 2 men in business suits whispering to one another a dozen feet away, and a woman pointing a phone at me from behind them. They've probably recognized me from CNBC or someplace. Normally, I'd get annoyed and step away, but this is too important to get distracted. Move in with me, I say again when Emma remains silent, staring up at me in mute shock. It will be good, you know it. I'll take care of all the moving logistics. All you have to do is say yes. And to remind her of just how good it will be, I curve my palm over her jaw and bend my head to kiss her. I meant for it to be a light, casual kiss, something befitting the public venue, but the moment our lips touch, a violent hunger takes hold of me. 3 days I haven't tasted her. 3 nights I've stayed away. Forgetting all about the onlookers, I wrap my arm around her waist, hauling her closer, and slide my other hand into her hair, gripping the curls to hold her in place as my tongue sweeps into her mouth. She tastes like bubblegum and luscious heat, like all my dreams wrapped in one sweet little package. My blood is like lava in my veins, and my cock throbs in my jeans, desperate for her slick warmth. I can't get enough of her, will never get enough of her, and for the first time, that doesn't scare me. I'm going to enjoy her, all of her, for as long as this lasts. A tiny moan escapes her lips, adding to the dark hunger beating at me, and I deepen the kiss, devouring her, sharing her breath. I can feel her small hands gripping my shoulders, can sense her arousal in the way she arches against me, and last call for United Flight 1528 to Orlando. All passengers, please proceed to the gate. The announcer's strident voice is like a snowball hitting me in the face. Jolted out of the trance, I raise my head, and remembering the onlookers, let go of Emma. She steps back shakily, fingers pressed to her swollen lips. Breathing heavily, we stare at each other. Then her left hand jerkily gropes in the air, landing on the handle of her suitcase. I can't, she says raggedly. Marcus, I'm sorry, but I can't. A dark mist veils my vision as a dull ringing starts in my ears. I must have misheard what she said. What the fuck do you mean you can't? My voice is low and tight, a warning in every syllable. Her face twists, her eyes glittering with painful brightness. I can't do it. I can't move in with you. I'm sorry, Marcus. What I said earlier, I meant it. It's over. I never want to see you again. And as I reel from the gut-wrenching blow, she rushes around me, dragging her suitcase to the gate. I don't know how long I sit at the gate, staring blindly at the door through which she disappeared. All my life, I've set goals and achieved them, refusing to accept failure as an option. I've gone after what I want with determination and ruthlessness, and it's always yielded results. Except with Emma. I've fought for her like I have for no other woman, and nothing. I've offered her everything, and she's thrown it back in my face. The pain of the rejection is breathtaking, like someone ripped out my lungs. When she told me to leave after the broken door incident, I'd barely known her, and all I'd been after was sex. It had still smarted, being sent away after those scorching hot kisses, but it had been nothing compared to the devastation I feel now. I'd been so certain she'd accept my proposal to move in that I'd never considered the alternative, much less that she'd refuse to date me at all. As the shock of her words recedes, the hurt intensifies, and with it comes anger. Dark and hot, it builds within me, until I feel like it will boil me alive. I want to hurt her, to make her feel some of the pain she's inflicted, and at the same time, I just want her. I miss her so much I'd kill to hold her one more night. Squeezing my eyes shut, I inhale deeply, trying to think past the bubbling cauldron of tangled emotions, to analyze this as I would any other investment gone bad. Why? Why did she do this? I know I haven't misread her, haven't misjudged her response. She wants me as much as I want her. She gave herself to me only to change her mind and run. There has to be a reason for her actions, something besides my stupid mistake of staying away. The Emma I know is neither shallow nor fickle, and she's certainly not indifferent to me. Something happened between Sunday and now, something that spooked her. Yes, that's it. That feels right. Something happened, something that caused her to do this, and I'm not giving up until I get to the bottom of it. No, fuck that. I'm not giving up until I fix it. I want Emma, and I'm not accepting defeat. Resolved, I launch to my feet and start walking, pulling out my phone as I do. Get the jet ready, I order my pilot. You have an hour. We're flying to Orlando tonight. And hanging up, I smile darkly. If Emma thinks I'll let her go this easily, she doesn't know me at all. She can run, but she won't get far. I won't let her. Emma kitten, you're mine, and I'm coming after you with everything I've got.